like the 1v1.
Yeah, especially also since like I have so many friends and people I know within the DS2 community as well, right? And like I've been going back and forth with them like whenever I'm just like looking into something and want insight on something, sort of how it's sort of been done throughout the series and stuff. Going back and forth like with them, it's really really nice to just looking into something like talk to them about it. On something, sort of how it's sort of been done.
Let's spice things up a little while Steel is gone. So,
not exactly gone.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
All right, sorry, Steel. But what's the like if you guys had to pick like the most important change that you would want to see the game go through right now, Elden Ring, obviously, what would it be? Let's start with Steel since you're technically the host.
To be honest, I have gotten like most of things that I wanted from the game already with the patch 1.06. and from now on, like I have very hard time answering this type of questions because I like the game. I enjoy it. I think like there is like some problem still with the TTK, obviously. Yeah, it's like it's not very equal. Like I would love more balance type of the changes among the weapons. But I literally cannot think right now of anything that I would love to change. Probably just like more support towards the PvP, yeah? And that's about it.
Just say light roll, man.
Oh, Jesus, I forgot! Light roll! Light roll!
How did you forget?
I don't know. I forgot, man. Light roll. That's actually correct, true. Light roll. Back to not 8% of the distance, maybe even 10, whatever. Like, just find the middle ground for the sake of so light roll speed is not faster than running because it is absurd.
All right, Lost. What about you? What do you would you want to see change the most in the game?
Well, I would take the poise system, right, and I would put it in a bag, and I would put that bag in a small chest, and then I would take a boat, and I would row all the way out into the ocean. I would drop it into the ocean, and then I would beg and plead and please ask Dark Souls 3 if we couldn't borrow their poise system instead. I would much rather play with the poise system and the hit stun system and all of that good stuff from Dark Souls 3. I was honestly super disappointed that we didn't get that system, that they moved away from that system in Elden Ring. I thought that they could have developed it with the jumping attacks and all of that good stuff, but instead they decided, we'll bring passive poise back and we'll do this and we'll do that. If that is too much to ask for, though, then FromSoft, please fucking buff hammers.
Again, they already did.
Would you mind if I went on a quick tangent about this?
Yeah, go ahead, Amir, please.
So with the passive poise thing, right? Like a lot of people were disappointed with how they nerfed the poise damage of like light weapons in the 1.08 patch after like, already buffing them, right? Or like buffing them before. And the thing is with that, and the reason I think they did it and why a lot of people have been floating they've done it is because apparently after the patch, light weapons people felt became too difficult to like reach those breakpoints and have like the same fashion. And I really, if that is the case, that's the reason why they nerfed it again, I'm pretty upset because like there's like a much easier way to do that without making it so that like light weapons just can't consistently break in like 2 hits and stuff, right? Or that hammers can't be so easily tanked. And that would be to actually properly balance the armor sets and make it so as you go up in weight, you get less and less poise returns, right? Because
they kind of did that right now, no? Like
no, what they did was they made it so at least it's something like 1.4 to 2 points of poise per weight point on your armor, right?
So you want multiplier rather than kind of,
Yeah, they did like a range across the board, but it's inconsistent. So you have things like Tree Sentinel, which are on the upper bounds of it and also in the higher weight brackets. So it just ends up being more optimal to just wear like a piece of or several pieces of Tree Sentinel and then whatever pieces you can mix in. So it's like they sort of like fix it by being like, okay, we're not going to make cloth armor literally have 0 poise because technically that's thematically accurate or realistic, but we are still gonna like do some funny things where it's sort of just like varying across the board because like funny RPG mechanics. But like what this ends up doing is just making it so like literally it ends up narrowing like the meta or your build options more rather than making it interesting.
All right, let's go on with Oro. Oro, do you have anything to say about that, or would you like to talk
he
about
definitely
a
has.
specific change that you another one maybe? I don't know. Go ahead.
I got a whole list. All right.
Okay,
So
we're gonna
first
sit here
off-
for a while.
First off, I'd go to the ocean or body of water that dropped the poise. I would fish that fucker out and I would treasure it forever. Because hear me out. This is from an invader's perspective. All right. Dueling, I get it. It just destroys weapon variety. It sucks. I wish there was a stone ring or something to increase poise damage. Like I know we have Crag Blade, but I don't think it's enough anymore. And obviously, it fucked with the balance.
I didn't have
But there's so many times in Dark Souls 3 where I'm 3v1ing and one of the host is like 1 HP. I go to hit him, and there's 2 motherfuckers just spamming R1 on a straight sword, stuns me once, and they're full health. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's awesome. In this game, that doesn't happen because you have poise. You walk through the straight swords and destroy the host or whoever you're fighting. You can actually finish people off without the constant annoyance of getting hit or having to gun deer swap for some poise, you know? I like that about this game. I think that because the poise exists, it's nicer to... it's better for invasions. It feels like healthier for invasions. Not as frustrating. Getting hit by every single little thing is just, it's really annoying in Dark Souls 3. I don't like that.
I think to add a little bit to that, I think I think a mechanic like a stun counter is kind of missing in Elden Ring. Like, you know, in Dark Souls 3, if you would get hit by a few attacks in a row, like the more attack you got comboed with, the shorter the amount of time you could roll out of it.
Right.
So I think like something like that is kind of missing in Elden Ring, where like sometimes you can get blendered from start to finish, and just it keeps comboing if the attack are like delayed in a regular interval. Like if a greatsword swings, then the other one swings, and like it keeps on repeating, like overlapping one after the other.
I actually have a question. Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't because like I think like I have seen your videos from beta, from the network test, that is.
Yes.
And it seemed like way worse. I thought they implemented the system to some extent.
They did implement. So they did implement it, but I think I know what G's talking about. So, like, despite that, there's like, okay, so for the first part, just to explain in as quick as possible how the hit stun counter system works. It's internally called damage count, and basically whenever you're stunned by an attack, unless it's flagged with something special that makes it not do this, you get a hit stun point added. Now this hit stun point stays on you until you exit the hit stun animation or the walk cancel event in your animation is reached. So if you can walk out of it, then it's already gone, and you could be, if you're stunned again, you will, or whatever happens, you'll have 0 points. And it's just like in DS3, it has basically the same exact timings in terms of when you can roll out of the attack. But I just think it's not enough. And because like I've looked at a lot of your clips, G, and I think I've even sent you a few where like a few cases where it's just like you just barely are comboed like on the last frame you could before you can roll away, right? So it's either not excessive enough, and then on top of that, because of poise, it allows passive poise ironically allows a lot of these combos to work where they wouldn't, right? Like I'm trying to like think of a particular example, but
your best example, like how poise can freak you over. It's not exactly up to this example of faster rolling out, but the sleep animation.
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking, but it's out of there too. Like if you see a lot of blenders that happen, like you would have been freed if you were stunned by like a lighter attack especially, but because of the passive poise system, it like allows someone to, like, let's say one of the gankers hit you with a running curve greatsword attack, then one hits you with a power stance straight swords attack because you got reset from the curve greatsword, right? So you're able to tank that power stance attack, and then the second hit from the, or no, another hit from like another player using a running great spear, and then like when you get hit by that, you're able to escape, but then you probably get like roll cop from a bunch of overlapping swings. So like, yeah, it I don't know if it's necessarily that like that system. Well, I do know that that system is just the same as it was. Like they re-implemented it after like, obviously G showed how bad it was in the network test. But like, yeah, like because of the passive poise system, it ends up feeling like it's still like kind of awful. Oh, and one last thing on top of that. It's also probably because of input dropping. If you poise an attack around the same time you you do an input, it will just clear the input. I have some clips of this. I think I have a GIF I could find of it actually, and it really screws you up because you basically will just drop inputs unless you like double tap it just to be safe. Like this is literally something you have to do if you're fighting something like Carrion Slicer, because you'll just notice you sort of just like try to roll it, but because you got like hit, like your roll just doesn't come out, so you gotta like double tap.
All right, I'm gonna talk about something a little different. Like the biggest change. Sorry for the little abrupt change, but the biggest change I would like to see personally for me it's actually pretty crazy. It's I would like to see some PVE arena like horde mode where you get like waves and waves of enemies and you fight them like almost like Call of Duty zombie mode, and like with different maps. I think that would be the biggest thing for me.
Okay.
Lost, do you want to say anything about
that? Wait, that thingy that you had in Dark Souls 3, yeah? The church, yeah? Thingy? That's what you meant, or?
I don't think there's anything like that in Dark Souls 3.
Okay.
I would love more stuff for that could bring PvEer and PvPers together. I would love more stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like I think we need more. Honestly, for me personally, I think we need more activities in the game, like activities where you just like want to play with somebody else. Because like yeah, you can play the story like co-op and all, but it's after you've done it once, there's not much replayability there. And then after that, what is there? Like there's ganking, but ganking is like boring really. And then there's arena team matches. So this is pretty much to me like the only kind of co-op activity we have like that can kind of be that can be replayed. So I think would be cool to get like maybe another sort of co-op activity in there.
I'm trying to think of something from the other Souls games that would be like that, and closest that I can think of is maybe the Glass Cannon, not Glass Cannon, Glass Knight, where like multiple people could be summoned to like a boss room and basically fight together against the guy that was fighting the boss. But it's
boss invasion.
Yeah,
it's not exactly like that, no.
Yeah, I remember making a video a little while ago, and it was actually a lot of people commented on that. I was like comment upon comment, but I had this idea where we could create like a nice little treasure hunt. We use some kind of item. A hidden chest would spawn in the legacy dungeons, and you could explore the legacy dungeons with your friends. And invaders would come in, and they would try to stop you from opening the box. Stuff like that just brings people together. I think because Elden Ring and all of the Souls games are already such a unique experience, and I think building upon that experience and expanding it, I think would be fantastic. It's a fantastic opportunity, in my opinion.
Also,
definitely would be cool, but matchmaking, like in this game, just the rules by which the matchmaking like happens. Like for example, in the arena, yeah. I'm gonna bring quickly the example in the arena and then let you talk, G. When you are creating, like when you are joining the queue for an example, the combat ordeal, and you want to fight another 5 guys in like a huge brawl, the way how the matchmaking works is that the game creates the lobby and then like people joining that guy's lobby. And it probably just excludes a lot of potential players because you might have situation that a lot of people just becomes the hosts instead of joining someone else's lobby. And you have like the whole issue with just like having many lobbies and few players in every of these lobbies, but none of these lobbies can start because like, no one can reach the max amount of the players to start the match. And like, I would love to actually finally From Software, I would love From Software to finally do something about that, to finally get their matchmaking right, because we have like shit tons of players playing this game. And activity doesn't seem like it, because just matchmaking sucks. That's kind of the bottom line, I think.
Yeah, about the matchmaking, I've always said the same thing. Maybe for Elden Ring, it would not be possible, or like any game that's already out there. But for their next entries, I really think they should consider making a hard cap, like for levels, that is like much lower than 99 and everything, so that it kind of forces the player base to gravitate more toward that. I've always been saying that I don't think there's really a point for these games to have like above 200 levels. You could even argue lower, but I think like above 200, there's not much of an argument that can be made that like levels beyond level 200 like bring anything to the game aside from splitting the player base. But I think like if they could implement kind of a force hard cap somewhere along the lines, I think it would kind of not force people, but like kind of suggest to people that this should be the level they should PvP at, and it would bring a lot more activity.
Okay, as much as I agree with that, that's from a PvPer's perspective. This is all from like a PvPer's perspective. I would say most PvE players want to level up like infinitely because it's fun, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, ideally, I would be like, cap this fucking game at 125 and call it a day. So everyone has to make a build.
Yeah, like the only incentive for not doing that is just how difficult it is to actually level up, right? Like you have to play the game so many times, right?
There's only a few, like I've talked about this in Dark Souls 3. There's really only a few people, like if you think about like the entire player base, there's only a few people that will level up like beyond like 200. Most people actually drop the game after they beat the game, obviously. Yeah. But I think that even from a PvE perspective, this definitely brings in more of a replayability factor, because once you make a build and you reach that hard cap, you're incentivized to make a new build instead of just kind of pushing the same thing over and over and milking it until you're a god. But I guess that's really like more personal preference. Like some people like power tripping and, be able, like some people just activate like god mode in Skyrim and just play like that all the time. But I think for the most part, I think the majority of the player would actually enjoy that. Personally, that I genuinely believe that.
It would definitely be good for us, for content creators, because it would bring more incentive to for people to watch build-related content. I would say. Because builds would be more important, yeah? You cannot just level up to use something. You have to work around so your setup works well together, yeah, and you are not fucking weak at the end of the day.
I totally agree, but at the same time, I think leveling up, however you want, as much as you want, is one of the key aspects of these games that make it like sort of unique. You can really get super powerful, and that's sort of an appeal.
Yeah, like how would you? That's interesting. There is not many RPGs where you can do that when you think about it.
Skyrim.
Oh, Skyrim. Actually, true. Like
Fallout. I mean, all Bethesda games, you can do that. Yeah.
How do you limit or disincentivize it, though?
Well, imagine that just imagine that you can't level up past 200 or whatever level you would set that to. I just don't think there's an argument above 200 that makes sense to me. But it's it. You just make it stop after 200. The stat spread like remains the same. You can still like make a build where you have like 99 and 1 stats, but you're gonna be lacking everywhere else.
Paywall. Make them pay $20 if they want to go above 200.
Man.
Oh
Perfect.
my god, that would be pretty funny. But
Do you
what
guys
is-
think this? Sorry, Amir. Do you guys think like the live service actually could
I don't
work
know,
with
I feel
these
like
games?
Not for this.
I mean, like,
Nah.
let's ignore completely the technical issues, like with the fact that the cheat engine exists and so on.
I feel like the key problem there is just From Software being From Software, and like that's not the type of game they want to do. They constantly want to make more games, right? So like doing a live service game is completely sort of out. Like I don't think they're beyond
It's out of their
adapting
realm,
it.
kinda.
But yeah,
I think like if you were to speak as if like we're completely like hypothetical, and like in the best world, in the best case scenario, if they like did everything right, and they kept on pouring content like over and over, and they kept on balancing and listening to the community, like yeah, maybe that could work for like the competitive side, and even for content wise, even the PvE. I mean, it would be nice if everything was done right. Like, would it be done right? I really, really doubt it. Like, I don't even think they have the power.
Wow, lack
within
of
them
faith in
and
the
the understanding.
overlords. You don't
Yeah.
believe in Michael Zaki's vision?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh man. yeah.
I
At
don't
least
think
you're
they would do it
honest.
right.
I think this is a wonderful and interesting question, though. Now, from a personal point of view and a very selfish point of view, I would love it if they turn it into a live service, because that's more content for me, baby. But I always wanted the one thing I always wanted in a From Software game was a level editor. A Super
Oh,
Mario
yeah,
Maker.
some sort of creator. Oh, dude,
Yes.
you're speaking to me here. Oh my god.
We
Yeah, that would be
we had
amazing.
something like that in Dark Souls 3 for the cheat engine, yeah, like people were doing like arenas for the
Yeah, but it means like something intuitive to
yeah,
where like
yeah.
anyone
I'm
can
just saying,
participate
yeah,
into it.
it was very cool. That's what I wanted to say. That I have seen the tournaments being hosted on the platform that was literally created for the sake of to make tournament there.
Yeah. So stuff like that would be so cool, and especially I see it now with Arch Thrones. We just got to see a little bit of gameplay there, and just imagine if we had a game that facilitated that type of creativity. It doesn't have to be like insane amount of stuff, but if you could put together several different rooms, and you could place different enemies, and you could place traps just to scare people, dude, I think content would be there for years, and FromSoft could make DLC for years. But as you guys have so deftly pointed out, that's simply not the type of stuff that FromSoft wants to make.
yeah. Like just thinking of how much longevity these games have, despite it all, like despite how like different From Software is, and like how still in this game they basically just copy pasted all the DS3 settings and forgot to take out manual attack aiming. like despite all that, despite them being like basically we're just sort of making the games like this, like despite all that, the stuff where they do good in these games have like created content for years and years, and people are still talking about fucking Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. Like,
And there is
these
some
games don't
competitors,
really
yeah,
die.
to be honest. Like you literally don't have competitors to the soft games. Like you have like a Souls likes, but yeah, like most of them kind of lacking, yeah.
I think that will come over time, though. I think it was Nash who said that if From Software doesn't get their PvP right, somebody will do it before them.
Yeah, but we
And
are
I think
talking.
that's bound to happen over
I
time.
had the same opinion, but then we are like 10 years later, and and that still
Well,
didn't
like,
happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think about that though. Like just DS1 though, it's 10 years later, but like look at Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Like that is a huge evolution over like Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls
Yeah, but
1
this
and
is
Demon
still
Souls were
from
super
software.
primitive.
I mean that someone, different
Them.
studio would would take
Yeah,
over.
I thought
Someone
you meant
else,
like
another company,
somebody
like,
else.
would have figured it out at this point, but they haven't.
Ooh, longest getting
Alright.
invasions though.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe we can get a game from China that does it better. Who knows?
The Lords of the Fallen also get an invasion system. So,
Wait, really?
Yeah. I even like sent. Actually, I forgot to send you and to Oro. I'm gonna do it after the live stream. There is a form on their website for the content creators. So yeah, like you can all sign up for the early copy. I think that would be pretty cool. I definitely going to do that, especially because hot take, Lords of the Fallen from 2014 is my favorite Souls-like.
Can't wait to play the new one. The new one looks like they improved like on so many levels.
We're
from
not
the
friends
first one.
anymore.
Leaves call.
Yep.
I haven't played the first one. I actually have no idea how they play, but I just looked at the trailer and it looked interesting.
First game is the biggest load of shit I've ever played in my goddamn life. It's one of the worst games I've ever played.
I absolutely,
Yeah, I've heard that.
absolutely like this is like very, very common opinion. I personally like it because I haven't seen the second Souls like that has so much replayability like this one. And just that it's like the game feels clunky. Because yeah, it is, especially if you have like a heavy weapon, then like you ultimately ending up with like one attack combo that is viable. And if someone like took, for example, some sort of the greatsword and tries to play it like it would be Dark Souls, so just like use the R1s, use the R2s, and so on, they get absolutely fucked. Like this is not how you play the greatsword in this game. Like how you are playing the greatsword in the first Lords of the Fallen is you are utilizing the running attack into a R2 combo with the charge attack for the sake of to get the angle on your opponent and deal like absolutely deadly amount of the damage. And like depending per weapon, like for example you have quarterstaffs in that game. Like quarterstaffs are playing more like Souls games with the R1 and so on. But I can absolutely see like the moment like when someone just jumps onto the game and using the greatsword and they're like, no dude, I'm out. I don't play that shit. This is stupid. It looks like garbage, it feels like garbage, I'm not playing it.
I played it. I played the
Before
whole
we
damn
go-
game.
Before we go into like more like deeper topics about Elden Ring, I kind of want to ask like a last kind of more broad topic. I'm gonna ask Lost first. What do you think like defines Souls games or Souls-like game? Like, what do you think is like the most defining thing that makes it different, and also like we just mentioned, kind of makes it better than other competitors, whereas nobody has really taken the place of From Software games. So, like, go ahead, Lost.
Wow, that is honestly, man, that is. I think it's a very good question, a very subjective question, because we could definitely go and say, well, it's the exact mix of the different elements of the combat, for example. That could be one part of it. Then you have the interesting storytelling that all of the From Software games also have. And then there's the level design. And if I had to, choose to play a Souls-like, what I want to play is a game that has this type of combat together with this preferably linear and really punishing type of level design with traps and people that want to ambush you and all of that type of stuff. I think that Souls games are not just Souls games because they do one or two or three things really well. I think it's how they melt all of these things together to create a incredibly unique and rewarding experience. For example, I'm not much of a dueler, right? I can play duels and have fun with it, but having the duel experience is such a vastly different experience from the invasion experience, and that is what I love the game for. Fighting in the world and utilizing the level to its fullest extent, creating an ambush, all of that good stuff. So to answer your question, the combat and how it melts together with the environment.
Right, I think that's pretty good. What about you, Amir?
Yes, I won.
Oh, well, like, kind of what all he said. It's really hard to like pin down. I feel like literally I would have to spend like weeks sort of just writing notes on it and then trying to like put it into as few words as possible. Because like it feels, yeah, like you said before, nobody's really properly copied the Souls format, right? Like even if they've tried to do like a straight clone, it's just it doesn't feel like it. And like part of that may be just straight up like the the game engine itself and like the exact like intricate details of that and the software they use, but it also just feels like personal to how their design works. And I feel just nobody has put in the effort into really analyzing and understanding a lot of these things. Maybe not the lore. The lore has had like a lot of stuff, but like the combat in particular, not even the PvP combat, but the PvE combat. Like there is so much I've discussed with people, and it's very disappointing the fact that like we haven't had any videos or analysis really done on the PvE and its combat and really breaking it down. Like a lot of people's understandings of it, like they feel like they really have it down, but like there is so much to it that I have not seen been explained or really like broken down anywhere. And like one key example of that is just sort of how like a lot of these bosses, like obviously a lot of people, and including myself, like they love them to shit, but the combat in them is very, very like primitive compared to what could be with this format and with like what this combat is, right?
Oro, what about you?
So, the definition of a Souls-like has been stretched and distorted and honestly butchered so much throughout the years. It's been ridiculous.
I don't think it's the question is much about the definition though. Like more like what, like why do you think like what makes it? What do they do right that no one else does?
You mean just like Souls-like in general?
Yeah,
like what makes it good?
Yeah, what makes it good, pretty much. Not necessarily what defines it, but like what makes it good, and why is no one else able to like kind of copy them and do it better than them?
I mean,
In your opinion.
it's the same thing as, compared to anything that clones something else. It's never going to be as good as the real thing. But I think FromSoft just does it best, For some reason they got that formula down pat and no one can seem to copy it.
But what do you think is the key thing that for you, like you like it a lot more in Souls games than everywhere else? Like what do you like best in them?
Well, obviously the online mechanics, like the messages, seeing other players, the co-op, the invasions, obviously. That online aspect for me, that's why I really, really love Souls-like, because that's what makes them unique. Although I will say a lot of games are getting on that, as we talked about. Like Doom was even gonna have invasions, for God's sakes. Obviously they got cut, but there's Wulong coming out, like you guys said. That maybe this invasion's really good in that game, and then we got some competition for this system in Souls-like. But for me, that's what I really, really love about all these games. It's just it feels interconnected. It feels like an MMO-ish, but not quite. You're still together, but not really. It's cool. I like that feeling.
Right, Steel, what do you have to say on that?
What Oro said about the online component, it actually brings quite interesting topic. From Software games are like playgrounds for many different people that expect different things from the game. Like, let's say someone likes cooperation, they can just play and do the co-op stuff. Someone likes invasions, they can do that. Someone likes few of these aspects, they can just co-op, then they go do invasions and so on. Someone likes to play alone, then just going through the PvE on his own, and so on and so forth. Problem is, I have feeling like vast majority of studios that make the Souls-likes nowadays kind of don't understand what brings people to these games. They are not making that fun playground where you have like stuff for people that loves lore and read all the like item descriptions and so on and stuff. Yeah, you do not have stuff for for people that like online interactions, you just, in vast majority of cases, it is just, yo, I'm dropping you on the level, you go through this level, you kill the boss, yo, I have a Souls-like, look at me, like, I made the Souls-like, amazing game I have here. And I have feeling like every time I play the Souls games from most of the, like, some third-party studios, like, it is that, like, they are like, hey, yo, look, I have a hard game, I'm Souls-like now. And it doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel right. It just feels kind of inferior. It's just like, I think studios just simply didn't grasp the concept of the Souls-like, or like of the Souls games yet, and what makes them actually so engaging. Why we spent like thousands of hours playing these games.
You nailed it.
Do you think there would be like a if a studio, like for instance, that was already established and popular, but that's not exactly making like VP related content or even multiplayer related content much? I know we have ESO Online, but if you had like a game like Skyrim, and if they took that and added invasions, do you think that would kind of supplant From Software, or do you think there's too much of a difference still?
To be honest, it's kind of, it's hard to tell, because it is just up to the studio if they are going to deliver with the quality. Yeah, I mean, like, if we had like plenty of games that had invasion systems. I remember Oro was playing that shooter game where you kind of sneak in on people. I think like it had like an invasion system. I don't remember how it was.
Deathloop?
Yeah,
Deathloop.
Yeah. So like that one had invasion system. You had the Watch Dogs. It has also invasion system. It's just, these things kind of, I don't know. It just, I have feeling like, for me at least, they do not seem that engaging. And like the question is, there must be something, at least from my perspective, there must be something about Souls games that make them special in that regard. And although, like, let's be honest, like Souls games from Software also like fucks things up. Like there is a lot of the issues with the invasions, but there is way less of these issues than in the other games. I have feeling like that have some sort of the invasion wannabe system. So I do not have, as for now, I have only Souls games that have invasion system that fucking at times absolutely suck. And no comparison to someone else that would do that, like, still similarly engaging. So
I think you put the nail on it. With the I think From Software actually does the most important stuff right, and it's more like in some of the little details that irks like some of the players. Like no matter which side no matter if you're asking, like there's always going to be like some details that people don't like. Like for instance, a lot of us here don't like some of the balances, some of the
Buff hammers.
things on the network side. Yeah. But I think for the most part, for me personally, what defines it is mostly like the combat. I think no really other games have nailed down like the core fundamentals of the combat. I feel like if you take games that also have like sort of a popular combat system, like first thing that comes to my mind is something like For Honor, for instance. A lot of what you get in For Honor, you get some timing-based moves, you get some nice reads, you get a lot of that aspect, but you're missing one key one, which is the spacing. I feel like the spacing in most games is non-existent, aside from Software, and I think the biggest reason for that is that most melee games have this way of making attacks where attacks will always track and kind of like have this magnet effect to where if you attack something, no matter what the distance is between you and your target, your character is going, or your attack is going to be adjusted to travel the required distance to reach your target. And I think that spacing aspect translates absolutely into PvE as well. Like you don't have that magnet effect in Souls games to where the player really has to adjust. And I think like the big portion of the skill that no one else is actually replicating right now comes there. And I think that's where like the biggest kick from the combat comes from. to go into more of the specifics. That's just my take on it, though.
Well, I mean, there's probably it. Like it's like I think it's just ultimately something feels off. That's for sure. With usually like another game that could be considered similar. So that is, I guess, like that might be absolutely it. Yeah.
Definitely one of the biggest.
Let's move on to some more specific Elden Ring changes to spice things up a little. Let's talk about.
Wait a second, G. So guys, we have opened the world with Amir in the game on Seamless. If someone wants to join, I am actually going to give you the vision of what is going on. We are essentially in the boss room here and just kind of chilling with the free camera and stuff. So if more people want to join us, then we absolutely can do that. You have the password and everything on the channel. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so cute.
Yeah, I'm gonna post the link to Seamless Co-op again, just in case. Hey, what is that pointing? What is
Why
that?
are you? Okay, so I can understand why the Albineric would be sitting in water, but why the other one?
Why not?
Because you'll be wet and uncomfortable.
That's why you have to go with the patches squad. Yeah. That's the way. Alright, Seamless Co-op.
Right. For let's spice things up a little. Oro, how would you change light roll?
I would remove it from the game. Next question.
Remove it? Like seriously? Like just like that?
No. Light roll needs something to be unique. I've heard a million suggestions like increase the iframes or give it a little less distance. The fact of the matter is that right now in its current state, it's totally fucking broken. And I don't know what can be done to make it unique but also balanced.
So
I don't think it should be distance. I think they need to get rid of the distance entirely for light rolling. Like it's
I mean, like it's like I still don't understand how like the argument of light rolls distance is fine, even stands when you just look at it. You see that you roll faster than other people run. You know what I would actually like? What
that's
I was
a fundamental problem.
what I was thinking about, why not do it in the other way around? Keep the roll distance, because it in the game it is not called light roll, it is light load. Why not make it run faster?
You want to buff the run speed?
Yeah, like not by much, but minimally, and like.
Oof.
Do you think like it could be interesting instead of like a?
I think it could be damaging for the game because like it's very dangerous to play around with movement speed.
Yeah,
like
right. Okay, let's make it. I'm not thinking here from the perspective of the technicals. Yeah, just.
could I?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Amir.
I think G is right that you're sort of playing with fire there. It's just sort of like playing with the roll distance that's playing with fire. So it's not impossible to touch it, but just remember it's a huge fundamental change. It can't be like isolated to sort of one thing and then it's, challenging, whatever. It's literally changing how the game is played. The distance of the roll, like all the attacks in PvP are sort of designed around it and stuff. And the same thing is with like the running. The running is designed to be at that certain speed. Now there is actually different running
But they did that the
animations,
same
but
with the
designed to
roll
be the exact
distance
same.
right now, yeah? Like it is basically the same type of the issue right now. It's just like light rolls completely demolish the fundamentals of the game. It's just like in the way that like, at least from the PvP perspective, I probably would prefer if like my opponent would be minimally faster by foot rather than by rolls, because rolls overlap itself, and on the high latency you become like absolutely invincible by just spamming one button.
Problem though that more movement speed introduces, or more running speed, is that a lot of attacks that are short get hurt even more. So you're hurting every single attack by doing that, like literally every single attack in the game.
Mm-hmm.
because the forward momentum on your attack is not affected by like the player movement speed. Or
I
the
think
player
I
running
just realized that this is like bad idea right now by the fact that the running attack animations would probably not match with the running speed as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, like you're probably correct about that one.
Actually, they would get a bit of a boost because when you do any animation, it blends and it includes the root motion.
Okay.
So if you actually do an attack from running versus like walking, there is a difference. So technically, while you're doing, it wouldn't apply to the entire animation, but the beginning portion, and that is a noticeable difference, right? Like this is literally a thing like you do in DS3 where if you, what is it, like run, then stop, then R1, then you're going to have like a sort of boost in total attack reach compared to if you were to do it standing still or walking. But like what I was going to get to with the load thing, so those are like two options. But there are other options, and From Software already does these options to a degree. They're just not explicit. Like most people don't know about them, or they're just sort of like...
there is a lot of things that light load actually gives you out of the...
Yes.
Purely out of the fact it's a light load.
So light load animations for like movement and rolling and backstepping and a lot of states are different. But also even in the medium load animations, there are events in the data that allow you to cancel things earlier depending on your light load ratio, right? So if you're closer to the light load thing, it will cancel a thing earlier. Right now it snaps to frames, obviously, because engine limitations, but usually it's something like 0 to 3 frames, usually something like 2, and it's rather inconsistent, and it's not at all on like melee attacks. Like I don't see any instances where it's on melee attacks. However, it is on spells. Almost every spell aside from the spell cancel, like doing a combo spell or something like that, or just a second spell, they use an equip load cancel that allows you to take off like 1 or 2 frames in 30 FPS on it. But the thing is, it's so like subtle. I think it's like subtly like incentivizing you to go lighter loads, like on mage and whatever. But like nobody knows about this because of how minor it is, and you can see this cancel and all these sort of little tidbits in different places, but it's pretty much like half baked. Like there's no explicit sort of benefit that would really make you want to use light load. And like it's not stated in tooltips anywhere or anything.
The more realistic approach that I was thinking about, because like the running attack is just like running speed is just a fantasy. I just thought like, that could be potentially cool. It's just system from Dark Souls 2, to be honest.
Another thing too. Oh, I'm gonna let Lost because I've been speaking for a while.
How about this? I think Oro would appreciate this. How about this?
Oh?
Every single time you light roll, your controller shocks you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
You got that haptic feedback for something, no?
Good point.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, so it should be some sort of more explicit benefit, but you're kind of like playing with fire with it because, you're still playing with fire depending on how you do it, right? Because on every weapon, there's this something I didn't mention. There isn't like that equip load cancel, but there's a separate one that's about 1 to 2 frames, and for some reason, they did this in DS3 and Elden Ring, but it's just not implemented. Like it doesn't do anything because it always uses
okay.
like
I mean,
the full event.
more specifically.
Okay, more
because-
specific. So there's something called weapon weight rate. It's like it's some sort of internal value or whatever. But every weapon in Elden Ring and basically every weapon in DS3 has it set to 0. And what this ends up doing is makes up so it just skips the event or whatever and just cancels as soon as possible. So it's as if like you had the fastest cancel speed. But the thing is they did design it in the frame data for all those events to be there. So it's like they were going to implement it and have something related to weight or weapon weight or your weapon weight that would make it so it would be sort of variable on when your weapon could cancel out of something. So I didn't know if it's related to like your weapon rate, like in the class, like maybe let's say something like the greatsword would cancel slower or something than like the Zweihander in a lot of instances. But it also could be, just related to your equip load, right, as well.
So there
But-
is parameter that technically gives you even more benefits globally,
Yes.
like among the weapons.
But it's not enabled.
Yeah, but it is not enabled. That's
Yeah.
actually interesting. Like I wonder, to be honest, I hella wonder where this game is going to be in the year from now on. Because yeah, like ever since patch 1.06, we have some wide drastic changes here and there. Yeah, like this game till 1.05 feels like average Souls game or even worse when it comes to your support from software. And since 1.06, they are changing so many things. They are making so many reworks. They are approaching these things like completely different company. And these changes are huge, yeah? Like in 1.06, we literally got the Wax Dust. In 1.07,
nerf.
BHS nerfs, like and like it's not in the way that
Voice overhaul.
like it is not even in the way that like From Software normally would do, because what From Software always was doing is, oh, we are just typing in the different numbers in our, like, you know, in our files, and at the end of the day we are getting the changes in the game in that way. But no, right now they are literally reworked Glintstone Pebble, they reworked like BHS and like other like
OB.
like it is like completely different approach. They are reworking stuff that was never happening. In 1.07 we get PvP multipliers. Like I seen this patch though, and I couldn't fucking believe what I'm looking at. Like
Me too.
It almost feels like From Software has been our parents and they've been neglecting us for all this time, and then all of a sudden they really feel bad, or they got a visit from CPS and now they really have to pull their act together, and now they're just changing things left and right, and I like it.
yeah, it's me too. I am just impressed. Like I never expect. I was complete doomer before patch 1.06. I was like just looking at this game, and I'm like, dude, just delete PvP from these games. Like, just free me. Like, just let me go. Like, stop bringing the hope. And then like 1.06 hit the fucking game. I'm like, holy shit. Well, I guess they are not letting me go. Like, what the fuck is this? They are like, it's absurd. Like one huge change in 1.06, another huge change PvP related in 1.07, or like even multiple of them. 1.06 Colosseum? What the fuck is going on? Like, you have that meme of this guy that is in some sort of the American talent show that makes these fucking like excited faces. Yeah, like this is fucking me. This is fucking me with every another patch. Like, I have no idea what the hell is going on, but From Software, please keep cooking. I'm gonna let them cook, that's for sure.
Before we move on to another topic, I just want to weigh in just a little bit on light roll. I said I really don't think it's that hard to balance it. Like, people try to think of like reworks and all things like that, like complicated fixes, but I really just think they need to reduce the distance for light roll just a little bit. You know, light roll will still be very strong, but they just need to reduce it a little bit so that more weapons can actually catch it, because there's really only a few weapons that can catch it now. I think it's really just that simple.
Yeah, I
You're right,
I actually completely forgot we were talking about light rolls.
It's fine. It's fine. All right. The next one.
We're gonna have to soon actually start like the legitimate topics of the podcast. But like let's go on,
All
Julie.
right. Last one. Still last one. All right. I want to ask you guys about poise specifically. What about R2s? So do you guys think, because at one point in Elden Ring, we had R2s always poise break for every weapon. You guys remember that, right? Maybe except daggers. I don't remember exactly. But like all the medium weapons, at some point we had R2s always poise break, and now they reversed it. Do you guys prefer it R2s that always poise break, or do you prefer it like now where it's not always the case? Overall, I'll start with you.
I actually really like that you have to respect R2s, because normally, you know, you just roll backstab in other games, but obviously that's changed because you can stack enough poise to literally walk through them. However, there's a problem with this game, is that there's running R2s, that combo, you know, and all sorts of stuff. I think I think that's where it gets a little different because there's a huge difference between someone running R2U and someone like stationary R2 that you like try to walk into.
I think it would be possible to make it separate, don't you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. On where I stand, I liked a lot that you had to respect every R2.
Right, Lost, I'll go with you.
I feel like Oro kind of crawled into my brain and started sucking on my brain juices because that's pretty much my opinion as well. I really like that we have to respect the R2s, but there are certain running R2s on certain weapons that are a little much. I'm looking at you there, big pokey weapons. Not my favorite thing to go up against. I really enjoy that the move of the running ultra pokes are. I say ultra pokes. What's the actual thing again? Heavy thrusting. There you go.
Ah, okay. Heavy.
Yes.
You don't like the heavy thrusting running attack?
I mean, I love it when I'm using it.
Ah, okay. I see. You don't love it when people like use them against you. I got you.
Yeah, have like 3 of those guys running at you and absolutely break your poise every single time. Not a great experience. It isn't. But other than that, yeah, you should respect R2s.
Do you think, Steel? I think you wanted to hop in.
Like, I think most problems with for example, that approach to the HTS comes from the fact that you can queue another running attack basically at the moment you finish the previous one. You know, like you can just continuously do the running R2s. Like on the screen we can see Amir actually doing it right now. Like he is.
But the thing is, it's only you're thinking of the one-handed ones. Like these can chain a lot better than I'm pretty sure the two-hand ones can. Like that's a huge difference right there.
Yeah, I mean, like it still like breaks 133 poise, yeah, with the running attack. But yeah, like the point is that I think there is a little bit of an issue in this game with this type of stuff. Like the same goes, for example, for halberd running attacks. Yeah, you can literally just kind of immediately start doing the running attack after like you are like finishing another one, and you can even like kind of cancel some recoveries like with proper like movement trigger, and just like, yeah, exactly like Amir is doing here on the screen. He's just keep on doing these running attacks, yeah. And whereas in the duels it is, I think, absolutely fine. I don't see any problem with that. And I also, to be honest, like myself, I don't have much of the problem with it in the invasions too, but I can see why some people might not like it. And why, for example, let's say for the audience that, let's say, is not very, like, you know, into the PvP that much, that thing might absolutely cause people to rage out of the game immediately, because it feels absolutely, I can imagine it feels absolutely terrible when, like, you have 3 gamers just literally attacking you with that, yeah, over and over. And I think this is where the issues lies with these with what is actually Lost talking about here.
It's funny because we went from poise to the issue is the low recovery.
Yeah, we actually, it's fine though.
But I was more
you're
curious
gonna
to
have
hear
to
your...
edit stuff correctly, G, when you're gonna be making content out of it. Because...
Yeah, I was more curious though to hear your take on, like, you know, some of the like medium weapon R2s, like, because, you know, like a straight sword one-handed R2, for instance, like that never poises.
I mean,
like that doesn't poise break 133, for instance.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, because like I preferably want to say that every weapon is supposed to be looked at individually, but it is wishful thinking, yeah, because that would require so much freaking job to do that. And
just us doing it.
yeah, actually, like that could be like perfect, but yeah, it's not happening, yeah. So at the given moment, I do not have like a realistic solution to the problem. I think, like, you know, it would be absolutely great if for an example, like any attack with the, okay, differently, like multipliers on the poise damage on 200 weapons probably supposed to be way higher for everything, for an instance. Because like
Sorry, go ahead.
because yeah, like you still have like a like situation that like freaking Stone Club is just not going to stagger your opponent, whereas like Steel Bank, like a shit weapon, doesn't matter if that's R2, R1 or whatever. You just it's unfortunate, yeah. It actually drags a lot of the off-meta weapons even more down, and then just makes them even worse, yeah. But yeah, I don't have solution.
I think you're right with that a lot of weapons, like no matter if there are two poise broke or not, they would still be bad. But I think some of them it would help them though. Like I'm thinking two-handed spear, for instance, like just the fact of having like an attack that can reliably poise break and weapons like that, I think that would be huge for the weapon class. But Amir, what do you think about poise R2s specifically? Do you think they should always poise break?
I have a lot to say, but yeah, so at least like before, I think one-handed R2s on basically any like light weapon or medium weapon, as you say, just basically the spear, straight sword, curved sword type thing. I think they definitely should. They certainly should, because like you would have to buff. It's either that or you do something like the Cestus, where you basically make them almost nearly like as like effective as standing attack, which I don't think is sort of the best option for everything, right? Like right now with R2s in a lot of cases, I don't know if you're seeing the stream, but like they're sort of just worse R1s, worse running R2, like they just have none of the perks, right? Like why would you ever, like this is the only thing R2 worth using in that sense. Like this, it's just you're static, you're stopping in your place, and then you have like a slow startup, and you also have like a pretty slow release speed. Like, and it also doesn't poise break. So you need to do one or the other, where you, well, you need to do both, but you need to go harder on at least one of them. So I think on the lighter weapons, maybe with only the exception of daggers, because that's what they are, they should have like the R2 as like their consistent option from neutral to poise break, because the jumping R2 and even the running R2, I don't think
you jump so
enough.
hard that your armor completely disappeared on my screen.
Oh yeah, so that's actually a pretty funny glitch. Basically, it's related to jumping attacks, and where something with a netcode happens, and then I just skip to the bottom animation, and it just deletes some of my body parts.
Yeah, I literally see your gloves and head, and that's it. Can you fix it?
And the funny thing is, using an emo will fix it. Here, if I use collapse.
Oh, beautiful, very nice.
But I think, what is it? You need that sort of consistent option, and it needs to be good. It can't just be like, oh, you technically have it, so you can use this to poise break them. Because, like, this is still useless. This, even though I'm pretty sure it always breaks poise, this two-handed R2 is sort of just not worth using. It's just better to, like, I don't know, kite around and maybe use the jumpings and running R2s. Like, it's just, it should have that and a lot more. R2s in general are just not tuned for PvP or even PvE at all. They're just sort of, artistically designed without much thought in their effectiveness put into them.
Steel, did you want to jump in with your topics before we take too much time?
I mean, it's for me. We can spend the whole fucking day talking. So I'm not speeding anywhere. That being said, we can just start regular podcast, because I'm probably gonna take plenty of these talks and just add them after the main topic anyway, or as separate videos, as you are going to most likely do, G, because I can imagine these questions are literally for this purpose. I guess what we can do is just finally get to the topic of the cheat engine, as this is kind of the main topic, and then we can just figure out in the process if you want to talk about something more, or we can use that list that I have prepared for us from the topics that I and Amir concluded a while ago.
All right, well, it's up to you, really.
Okay, so I guess we can start with the podcast officially, even though we are podcasting for freaking 2 hours.
Welcome in, guys. Welcome.
Okay, hi, welcome. This is Elden Ring Podcast that has absolutely no name. So I guess this is going to be literally DD Podcast. In the top left corner, we have our fellow gamers from YouTube and Twitch who are going to spread their shit opinion. And we are going to talk about cheat engine as the first topic. And to be exact, if cheat engine is actually a good thing, it is a bad thing, does it actually do more better for the game, or like it is something that is completely detrimental in the long run? On the screen, you see also me and Amir hanging out in a boss room of mob that I absolutely have no idea what's the name of, because I am that good at PvE. And yeah, I guess we can start. So hey guys, listen. Cheat engine overall is something that existed in these games since, I guess, like Dark Souls 1, yeah? Because like that was the first game that actually appeared on the PC. And it was, to be honest, used very often for like good things. Like, for example, we are currently using cheat engine for the layouts on the tournaments. We can make the builds faster and so on. But my question is, how every single of you individually think like about cheat engine, if this is overall something that is positive for the game or negative for the game, starting with, I'm just gonna go with the list from the bottom. Let's start with Oro.
So, cheat engine, obviously super controversial, but I think that it's become not a necessity, but a part of like building characters on PC for the PvP community for sure. It can take hours and hours and hours and hours to make a ready PvP character, and cheat engine is a nice way to do that very quickly. Technically you're not cheating, you're just speeding up the process. There's nothing that you're doing that another player can't do unless you're actually cheating with it. I'm assuming that you're using cheat engine to gain levels and armor and stats you can get within the game, right?
Yeah,
Just
of course,
quickly.
but like I am also getting, for example, stuff like meat dumplings that I have in the amount of 600 versus like the regular gamer that going through the game is going to have them in the amount of 30 at max. And,
Yeah, okay.
And there is a question, yeah, because I personally think of myself as in these games, like as I am just a cheater. I absolutely do cheat. Like I see cheat engine as form of the cheating, although I see it in the way that it is kind of necessary cheating for the sake of so this game can be enjoyably playable. So what you think about it?
I agree with you there. I don't think there's a way that we can say, okay, yeah, that's not cheating. No matter what, it is a form of cheating. However, again, it's cheating for convenience sake and not for actually cheating against other players. But there's definitely like a sort of a gray lines there where like, 99 divine blessings, no one's gonna farm those or get those and stuff like that. For the big thing about cheat engine, for the bigger picture, honestly, I avoid playing on PC because of cheat engine's existence. People will cheat, they'll stream snipe me, they'll ruin my game,
actually
ruin my stream even more.
I'm gonna interrupt you quickly. Do you guys had like any experience with cheaters on the PC recently? Because since the patch 1.08, I have seen no one, not even a single soul, that would try to body move with the cheat engine, or like anyone just chilling and doing some weird stuff with the cheat engine.
The most I've seen is a stat cheater in Liurnia.
Yeah, okay, that's still a problem not solved. Lost, you haven't like seen anyone?
It's fascinating. Not on stream, but I was experimenting with a few things, and I invaded in Liurnia, and I invaded a person that forced me to backstab them. I was teleported from far away into the guy. I backstab him, and was like, "What?"
Did you ever attempt any time in that session to backstab him before?
Maybe it's a while ago now, but
Because that's how the networking works, is that if you attempt to backstab someone and you hit it and you have like the spacing for it, even if you just leave, have a coffee, like travel the world, once if they're connected,
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. He constantly kept me backstabbing him. It wasn't like I tried once and then I backstab him later. It was like bang, bang, bang. I tried to get away. He drew me back in. So it was clear this was clearly a cheater. But I haven't really had any issues with anything malicious since very early on, where there was like one guy who tried to get a little bit of attention. But nothing much.
Yuji wasn't playing on the PC recently at all, no?
Yeah, but Vale, my friend Vale though would get a lot of cheaters though very often.
But I mean recently, because Vale is not playing since 1.08 March, because he's in the Europe currently.
Yeah, so I can't really speak of that. I can speak of Dark Souls 3 though. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you know what, we can get to it, but it's gonna take a while. So
I mean, I can't really speak much about cheaters on PC, but I can weigh in a little bit about Cheat Engine. Like, I think Cheat Engine is like one of the big reasons why I don't like PC as much. Like, I don't like the fact that you can play online and encounter people that just straight up have so many there's like so many things you can cheat on PC as opposed to console. I like a more like closed and severe ecosystem to where there's not much you can do in terms of game alteration. With that said though, it's probably very common to have like save editing on console anyway, so it do be like that.
And even if it isn't explicit, there's probably some subtle people out there. Like there's definitely a lot of subtle people out on PC.
Oh yeah, on both. What I was gonna go into is that basically, we know From Software is incompetent with their anti-cheat systems. Okay, to put it mildly.
Put it mildly. Okay.
Slightly incompetent.
Slightly.
They don't know how to combat cheaters. They just don't. They throw easy anti-cheat. It does fuck all. They're still super cheaters. It doesn't matter. It doesn't protect anything. The fact of the matter is, PC players rely on these player-made anti-cheat systems, these anti-cheat mods. If you guys see Blue Sentinel, Blue Acolyte, Yep.
Watchdog on Dark Souls 1.
We rely on the player base and the modding community to actually make proper anti-cheat for PC, and that's where I think PC version becomes like nice to play on as well.
I just want to be fair to From Software that they actually try in Elden Ring, and they are actively making the changes for the sake of cheating through the cheat engine is limited. Like, for example, if you are going to put wrong ash on your weapon, like, for example, unsheath on Gags, then Gags is going to disappear. So, like, you cannot do that anymore. If you are going to move the opponent, like the other person in the world through the cheat engine, you cannot do that in the regular way. Therefore, like, people right now, like cheaters, doing this wacky stuff with forcing you to backstab them and so on. And they are like still finding the loopholes in the system, but they are actively
Can I say something
trying,
on that?
Yeah, sure.
So with that, like I think they are putting more effort into making it cheaters' lives harder and more inconvenient, because like that Ash of War thing, right? Like it's not possible to subvert, but it's just programmed into the game as a sort of just as a like safety check or a sanity check, right? And the more of those you have, the more just inconvenient it becomes, right? You would have to mod the game. You would need to have like an actual bypass to the anti-cheat to mod the game's behavior so you can have those ashes on those weapons. But you could technically still do that and use unsheathed gugs, like the GIF I just posted. But still, it makes it much harder, and you'll be seeing much less unsheathed gugs because it's just that much less convenient for cheaters to do that. Like, and we don't need to go into it now, but that's the main thing of easy anti-cheat, even with how limited it's and lazy it's been implemented. Like we saw with the 2-minute disconnect issue, that was like only until it was silently fixed in patch like 1.06, I think. Like it just being there as a sort of like idiot blocker, basically where like Jimmy just can't download a cheat engine table and instantly get it working. That's enough to make people not like get curious and start things with cheat engine, at least when it comes to online, right?
Yeah, you are eliminating the script kiddies, at least the less brave ones, yeah, by doing so.
Yeah. It makes it just far more inconvenient, and thus in total reduces the total amount of cheaters, whatever. And the only downside to that is that, well, it can still technically be bypassed, but like actually no, the main downside is just, you know, the performance issues with easy anti-cheat and all the other concerns people have with like those types of anti-cheat packages.
I don't know, like overall, as yet again, Jesus Christ, just bring the different company that takes care of these things, because yeah, like this, or like, I kind of wonder how on the technical level it works like that. For example, like particular, do you have to have everything server-sided for the sake of cheat engine actually is eliminated?
Okay,
Like,
so let me say a bit on that.
how it is
So,
from the technical perspective, yeah.
if you're doing a peer-to-peer thing, there are limits to what you can do to limit cheating, right? Especially in this type of game, which is basically trying to transform a single player, you know, game data and world, right? And it's trying to like translate it over the network instead of something like a fighting game where you can sort of just control the entire state, right? You can have it like sort of seamless like that because everything is in this just one online session. But when it comes to your world, like your own health is your own health, your items in your inventory is your own, right? And that's not really shared across the network necessarily. Like it's not, you know, kept track of. And thus, if you, let's say, lock your health to full, the game isn't going to try and keep track and stop you from doing that. You're not going to be able to die, right? If you hack if you're able to actually modify the game code, you can prevent yourself from dying and from these things from happening, right? You have to put a lot of effort to like, you know, rework the netcode to where the other player just like it's some sort of shared state. Like that's just not what the
So
game
a
is.
lot of checks, essentially. Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
implement a lot of
that's the best
checks.
they
So
can-
if that happens, okay, it is happening right now. It is happening right now, and then like ultimately out of that, you can draw some sort of the anti-cheat engine system. Yeah, and
Not really an end. Like it's like easy anti-cheat. Basically, what it is, it's not really something that sanity checks. You can like communicate things into it to just say, okay, this person I think banned. What is it? Is cheating in like I've literally read the easy anti-cheat docs, and they literally say to developers like you actually if you want to get people banned for like you can't just rely on our thing. All our thing does basically is make sure people don't modify the code, right? And don't let them play if they've found out a way to like modify the code, right? But you still need to implement some things to make sure people aren't cheating, right? If you go online with the game and put unsheath on Gugs, you need to have the game check for that. You can't easy anti-cheat's not going to know about that. So in their own systems, yeah, I think the best thing, and they've already been doing this, is a bunch
so
of
not
sanity
modifying
checks.
the code live kind of thingy. Yeah, in that meaning, because like essentially,
Yeah, it doesn't let you do that.
Yeah, okay, because yeah, you can do stuff like off with the anti-cheat turn it off and then just get onto the game and have some wacky shit in your inventory technically, yeah.
So, like, with the current model they have, all they do outside of easy anti-cheat is have it so the server bans you if you send data to it that basically tells them that your character is impossible, right? This is not on everything, but this is on a lot of elements, like a bunch of like invalid items or whatever. But at the same time, you can sort of just lie to them about that, the matchmaking, right? The only thing there's kind of a couple limitations to it, but and then in the peer-to-peer sense, when you connect to a player, actually, like you can put limitations like no, you cannot backstab the player in this state, you cannot teleport them across the map to do this, or you cannot put this effect on them with your weapon. You're not supposed to have the curse effect on your dagger, and they can do a bunch of things like that. But all that does really is limit and make it more inconvenient for cheaters, but it doesn't stop them from cheating entirely.
There
but
is always
doing
the
that,
loophole, yeah, basically, what you want to say. If not
adding
this one,
more
yeah.
adding more sanity checks and more ways to make cheaters' lives like limited, like just very, very clearly just disincentivizes cheating in total because it limits their options, it limits their creativity. Like a lot of people literally just probably cheated on DS3 and games like Dead by Daylight because of how little sanity checks there are and how creative they can get and how much freedom they can have. It's sort of like modding, but you know, doing it with other players unconsensually, you know?
I have seen the screenshots of people in Dead by Daylight having 99 of every single. I don't know. Those are perks, like, or you're playing DBD, like.
Yeah,
Add-ons.
they can basically control the entire game state. I think Oros probably could tell you all about it, just like where they just fly around, they put themselves on the hook and back, they put someone else on the hook, they put someone else on the killer's back. When, you know, they slow down the game, they make it so a perk freezes the killer, and then also modify. Like, there's just way too much freedom, and there's minimal sanity checks, and there's like no excuse for this. Like, if you play something like Overwatch, yeah, like both the games are server based. So that's another thing too, where there's more stuff you can do. The game state is literally on the server. You don't need to like, you know, do some complicated stuff to basically maintain it on two games. Because of that, and because they have good sanity, like a bunch of sanity checks, all you can really do is walls and aim hacks, right? So you can't like, you're severely limited by that, and all you can do is sort of subtle cheating on those things, right? And because of that, it's just like much more playable than something like DBD when somebody's cheating.
Okay, so ultimately up to the developer to actually seriously take care of this and and realize the problem exists, and just
Also,
be
may I say
mindful
one
about
thing?
it, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
The only reason why Curse Dagger got even fixed in DS3 and why it got fixed in Elden Ring is because of the person who has done the Blue Sentinel mod and the Blue Acolyte mod, sending them directly on and off, just constantly sending emails and stuff like this about, you know, just like vulnerabilities in the game, exploits. Like, if it weren't for him and other people like this actually like putting all this effort into the modding, and then also like going through the effort to constantly push them on this, and for like people to even bring attention to like the RCE thing in the first place, that's like the only reason why we have these fixes currently. So they aren't going to look into them themselves, right? Like, they just aren't competent enough on that.
So the myth about From Software not listening is just that. It is just a myth. They do listen. It's just they are poor listeners. Yeah.
And we're not delivering the information. I feel like, what is it? People, we complain about these things all the time, and obviously, like, you know, if you're criticizing the game, you don't need to be like, okay, but why aren't you doing anything about it, right? Obviously, like, you're just a player. But if you're in the community, like, it feels like people just generally complain about networking issues and stuff like this. They don't really pin down the issues. The same thing with balancing and glitches. And then they sort of are just surprised when they don't get fixes. But then when you actually do deliver feedback and you do show specific issues, surprise, surprise, if the information reaches them, eventually they actually do get to it.
Okay, like among us, guys, how many of you know how to reach to From Software? Oro,
Well-
do you know how to reach to From Software? Oro is.
Are you asking us generally,
No,
or-
asking Oro for now. I'm going from bottom on my
Oh.
list. You don't.
I mean, there are certain ways to get through to them, but it's a massive pain in the ass. Yeah.
Okay, Lost, do you
I have
know-
a special case because I'm working on the strategy guide.
right. True. So you are with Bamco in contact. So yeah.
We haven't been in contact with From Software since Dark Souls 2.
What do you mean by that? Like, in DS2, how, was it like?
Wait.
did you
Let's
actually get to speak to-
not dig the topic. We're gonna get to it. I just like, Lost. Do you know how to like potentially contact From Software?
Well, I sacrificed a hobo once.
Okay. G, do you know how to contact From Software?
Yeah,
Well,
I think, and I.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lost. Were you done?
No, sorry, I zoned out. You go ahead.
I think, and ironically, the biggest problem is not necessarily From Software. I think it's the language barrier. If we had someone in the community that spoke Japanese that could like feed information like clearly, directly in Japanese, I think that would probably solve the big thing, because everything we're doing is coming or has to go through Bandai, which Bandai is actually, I think, unironically doing a really good job. Like, usually
Yes.
like
They do.
publishing companies are the bad guys in most cases for most games, but we're actually extremely lucky to have Bandai, because they are feeding all the information to From Software, and they are actually translating it for us. So that is a huge deal. Like, I can't think of many publishing companies that does that. So this is our best way to reach them, and I think honestly our only way to reach them until we get someone that speaks Japanese in the community.
Like Amir,
Also,
I know he
can I-
knows, but like you.
One
you...
sec.
Mhm.
Sorry. I just want to throw that in there. Coop asked earlier if it was worth it to have easy anti-cheat given all the horrendous performance issues. Maybe you guys want to hop on that afterward.
Hell fucking no.
Can you? I didn't understand the question, to be honest.
You're saying that what is it? Is
Was-
it worth
Coop
it? to
was
have
asking if it was worth it to have easy anti-cheat in Elden Ring, given all the performance and the issues that came with it.
So this is double-edged sword, yeah, because when you're playing on the seamless co-op, you basically can tell that the performance is better, yeah. The easy anti-cheat definitely has some impact on your performance. But
Do you think it's worth
holy
it?
shit, Dark Souls 3 moment.
Yeah.
Like it is like if someone was playing Dark Souls 3, even I have 200 hours in Dark Souls 3. And in these 200 hours, like the 40-50 of it is preparation to the recent tournament. So like fucking like 8 years later, yeah? I kind of went ahead with that 8 years. Like
The player
6
pool,
years.
though, matters
Like,
a lot.
But yeah, I basically I played very little of Dark Souls 3, and I still see such an absurd impact of cheat engine in the negative way. Someone is getting bodied in the duel. Aha! Hey, look at me! I'm going to curse you or whatever. Like it's gonna remove like you, or gonna add some sort of the items to your inventory. Going to instant kill you. Like it's you know it's fucking wild.
Give
Like,
Elden Ring a few years still. We might see that on Elden Ring too. Give it a few years.
given a few years, you might see that is correct. That being said, like right at the given moment, the amount of the cheaters that I personally encounter and I see other people encountering, besides like the stat cheating, because this one is sadly common, then like, you know, this type of hardcore cheating, I see it very rarely, and it is probably safe to say it is thanks to easy anti-cheat.
So could I go on that? Yeah, like I legitimately, it's very hard. There's just like a bunch of pros and cons. Like the community, I feel like a lot of things would have went in a very different direction if it were for easy anti-cheat being there. And I'm not actually sure of the answer there, because like on one hand, the performance of Elden Ring has started out like and has only gotten better, but it's like it's still like a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and it still has a lot of problems, especially on PC. So like easy anti-cheat has undoubtedly like been on top of that and making it worse, and just like it's just a huge sort of negative in that sense. But at the same time, it's been just way smoother in Elden Ring playing multiplayer, just not having to worry about, you know, just someone reviving themselves and killing you at the end. You could actually just be like, oh, I killed him. Okay, now he's going to be dead. Or I don't need to worry about them modifying their weapon damage and being like, wait a minute, is he modifying his damage? Or, you know, whatever else. Like, it's just been a lot more comfortable with that thing. And not just for myself, but like this has definitely kept a lot of people playing that would have left otherwise if they had a similar experience to like DS3. Just like Steel. Like Steel's an example. So, like, I think I am leaning on the side of, even though I just think From Software should have put in the effort into, like, implementing a lot more, like, sanity checks, reaching out, like, maybe even contracting a company or something like that to actually have these sanity checks in place and have a better long-term, like, solution. Like, I would have rather had easy anti-cheat here than it not being here, because, like, the impact of cheaters in DS3 is just, like, cannot be understated.
Like, yeah, I mean, like the ultimate answer I think is that just no. Absolutely do not remove the easy anti-cheat. Like it is not worth it in the long run, despite like the issues. But like that being said, on the PC, we still have that seamless co-op. Yeah, right now it is. By the way, Jesus Christ, seamless co-op is beautiful. Like, Luke outdone himself. Like, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but I have uploaded a video recently where I and Eisenwave are doing the PvP on the mod
In the arena.
in the arena, like because of the seamless co-op. And we have all the fucking funny movesets, yeah, like some sort of the crazy stuff going around, totally from like some sort of the Final Fantasy games, yeah, or something like that. Just insane animations, and we are just doing PvP on that. And yeah, it just works on like very stable frame rate. It's beautiful. It's absolutely fucking amazing. So I love the current state that we are in with the game, where we have like this tool in form of the seamless co-op, and the main game where we have cheaters protection, or and anti-cheat, just like makes me simpler. Where we have like anti-cheat and we are protected from the cheaters, it's just like, or at least the script kiddies. It's great. Like right now, I like the place where we are at when it comes to coexisting of anti-cheat and the other tool that is seamless co-op.
Did anyone want to like input there? Because I was gonna try and get us to move onto a certain thing.
I just want to mention, because we kind of abruptly like stopped the topic of contacting From Software. As far as I know, indeed, the only way how you can contact From Software is through the tickets to Bandai Namco, and they are just delivering the message further.
Can I? So, like, with my experience with it, we have not spoken to anyone from Software directly, and everybody I know who's tried has done it to the emails of specific like From Software employees or their Twitter or whatever. But basically, single time they say like, "Thank you for the email, but please ask this question through the publishing company." They put it up to Bandai entirely. They rarely ever like say anything directly, and even then they have like the same speech, and because that's probably their internal policy to like be safe as possible. They don't want to they want to leave it up to Bandai, and that's sort of fair because Bandai, yeah, like we've been saying, has been doing a pretty good job at that. Like I did a video recently where I showed how in the patch notes of patch 1.0 like 8 or 1.07, I forget, but just the recent ones in general, they have been putting in community language. They've been using the term poise damage when they haven't used that term since like DS2, I think. And even then, I'm not exactly sure. I didn't actually like read like the original ones. It might have been just like someone like summarizing it with that term or whatever. But in DS1 and and DS3 and in Elden Ring up until that point, they have not been using the term poise damage. And if you look at the Japanese version of the patch notes, it's not poise damage, but it's instead a specific consistent term, consistent string of Japanese characters, which say something like the ease of breaking the enemy's stance, right? Or posture. I forgot which one it was. But that means, like, before this patch, before the recent patches, they were always, like, doing a mix of translations, like the things like attack speed, motion speed. Like, the translators were really inconsistent and kind of, like, did the most lazy translation ever. But when they got the feedback and saw what these community terms were, they put a lot of effort into translating them and making them understandable for the English-speaking community. Oh, and also, since I kind of went off topic, in terms of like my and everybody else's, it's basically always through either a ticket or through just someone who's like a Bandai representative, so someone like Ismar and stuff. There's been like a couple other employees and stuff we've talked to, but like, yeah, it's never direct contact with FromSoft, and it's not even usually with like Bandai Japan. It's like with Bandai EU or US.
It's such a shame because, for example, in case here in Poland, yeah, the guy that is responsible for plenty of interesting games, like for example Witcher 2, the first Lords of the Fallen, or currently I think like his newest game is Evil West, if I am not mistaken. I have guy on the Facebook, and I can just message him and, yo, listen, there is like an issue in this and that, and like since he and like he's like, oh, okay, thanks, yeah, and we don't have anything like that with From Software, yeah, at all. It's such a shame, and just like it's kind of like everything is so corporative. let's call it that way. Yeah, that like you have to go through this door for the sake of to contact that. Then this like a department is gonna go to the another one, gonna inform them, and then like at some point maybe the information is going to be delivered to the developer.
Boss, do you think
Yeah.
we could enter straight from soft with some only feed? Start an only feed?
That sounds like a good idea. Not gonna
I
lie.
would 100% pour myself out for just a little bit of communication. Just one person that I could talk to in the actual From Software audiences or offices, and hell, there would be feet pics, hand pics, left testicle pics, whatever they need. Right? I am willing.
You know what I adore about like what happened here? Lost is super quiet for the last 20 minutes. Jeenine mentions feet pics. Look what happens. You enabled the gamer. Okay, continue, Lost. Yeah, please go on.
All right, okay. Well, right testicle pics. I would send finger pics. I would send beard pics, both off and on. I would shave every single part of my body and take a picture if they really wanted to. I would sit in a jar of jam completely naked in order to get just a little bit of... You know what? Maybe for 20 words. How about that? I would sit naked in a jar of jam, and as long as I could send them 20 words and they would actually read these words, I would go completely naked and run through a field filled with murder hornets if they just talk to me.
I think I have title for the podcast. Not gonna lie. Although I can kind of understand the issue here. Yeah, it's
And
quite
you know what I would
apparent.
say? You know what I would say?
Hmm?
Buff hammers.
Yeah, buff hammers indeed.
So can I say one thing? So most of basically how the Bandai representatives really do things, and what like even if you look at some interviews with like Miyazaki and others, like they always say they don't really receive feedback directly, especially Miyazaki, because it's just too daunting for him. It's always sort of like summed up and like collected by people either inside the company or like what is the outside, and it sort of just funnels down to him. It's like trickled down information to him, but it like never is direct. He's never gonna look at a tweet or a like a YouTube video about this, right? Or even our website. I don't think like for him, but like maybe some of the employees might have looked at it or something like that. But like what I think is most likely even for our website is just like what the Bandai representative told us when we like sent them the link to it, and like they said everybody else was sending them the link to it. They're saying they're like assembling like an email where they like write a review of the website, right? So it's always packaged to sort of say like the community is generally feeling this, and they've provided information like this and this. Like that's what I imagine they're sending to From Software, because they're trying to be as professional and as like summed up as possible. They're not going to just like directly send them the raw feedback, right? That's like what they do with Reddit and
So
stuff.
that's speculative, though. We don't really know how they do it exactly.
Yeah,
Like, it could be
that's
anything.
also it's in the way that we just trust that is happening. Yeah, but ultimately it might. That's why like the direct contact would be amazing. Like this is because Oro, like this is actually quite surprising to me. Like none of you guys from like Soulbrand or people or like Focus Around never had any direct contact with none of
Oh,
like
geez, Oro, you've been at it for a long time.
Yup.
You've never Miyazaki never sent you a hello.
They really
talked
should have.
from
He really
software?
should have.
like
I mean,
like seriously, because like I remember I was asking that like a peeve in probably 2015, and he basically said no. And now I am asking you in 2023, it is still no. Or
Nope.
can you? Okay. I am impressed.
What did you say earlier, like with DS2? Are you sure it was like you said we haven't had like From Software since like DS2. But was that even like From Software themselves, or like did
No,
like
no,
a
no.
Bandai
He
person come
mentioned
to them?
representative. Yeah,
That's
Bandai Namco.
exactly what G9 said. It was through Bandai Namco that they had direct contact.
But they
through.
came to you is the difference.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, they
Not
care.
carrying
Like,
from stuff on its shoulders, man. It's crazy.
Imagine them caring.
Okay, guys, back to the topic of cheat engine. Because, like, do you want to add something to what we were talking about 40 minutes ago when we started the topic? Because I have no idea what we were talking about at this point.
Okay. Well, I think that cheat engine is good for people who want to make builds quickly, but don't have the time for it. I think that's fine. Honestly, I think that's okay.
So can we like boil it down to the fact that the game just doesn't provide lots of cool features for people to just want to play this game in the way that they want to exist in it, like in the meaning that they want to contribute to the PvP, they want to contribute to co-op, they want to do cool stuff, and they're like, we do not have like a easy way in the game itself for the sake of to, for example, gather the upgrading stones and so on. It is like, what is that boils to? Like, because like we do not have that convenience in these games. Because of that, like cheat engine might be just considered a good thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple things I want to go with it. One thing I can certainly say is that with the existence of easy anti-cheat, cheat engine is, I'm more leaning towards where it's okay to like let people know how to use cheat engine to make builds and stuff on PC. Now in DS3 and before, I feel it's a lot more questionable, and I would like I'm assuming what like the arguments G would make in terms of like the fact that people get it in the first place, even if they come in with like original intentions, like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna use this to make builds and stuff. It allows people to get curious, and if they have this cheat engine table on the side, then they might activate like the funny scripts that come with the table, right? And generally it just in total increases the amount of cheaters because it's just something that's available, something you can do.
So
right?
essentially cheat engine good as long as people are responsible, cheat engine bad when they are not, yes.
Yeah, but the problem is that if you promote it in the first place, it's sort of like it's sort of like giving, knives to kids or something,
Yeah, okay.
You don't do that?
Yeah. Kids has to come and ask for the knives themselves. That's when you give children knives. You can't just give random kids knives, only the people that asks for it.
Lost, I know you're actually, or like I heard, you're actually big enjoyer of the cheat engine. Why?
Wait, you talking to me now?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
talking to
cool.
you. Are you big enjoyer of the cheat engine?
Mr. What is it? 15 alt band in DS3.
Yes, I in Dark Souls 3, I have over 20 bans because of cheat engine. I use it to make videos, I use it to create thumbnails, and I'm a lazy asshole, and so I do something, and then of course I get banned. I took steps to avoid that in Elden Ring, so that's great. But when it comes to cheat engine, I can understand that it gives a certain advantage. You mentioned the meat dumpling Steel, that's one. And then there are all of the different items that you need to farm that can be an absolute bitch to farm. But I cannot remove myself from my perspective of a content creator because it literally makes my job so much easier.
Okay. So from the content creator, it is indeed like something that is beneficial for us. But try to put yourself in place of actual just regular player.
Well, I do have a few rules that I have, put myself in. For example, I didn't use any cheat engine until I managed to get 2 of each weapon. I got all the weapons in Elden Ring twice on one character before I
made use of cheat engine because I wanted to make sure that I didn't do anything that wouldn't just be speeding up the process. You know, I have created a save file and I have that with all of the things I need. I do not think it is a huge impact on the PvE players. I do think it's a small impact on the PvE players, but nothing that will truly ruin a person's experience. I personally haven't experienced anything that would make me go, oh, that guy is using cheat engine, and oh, that is so annoying, because I wouldn't be able to do that any other way. I haven't really experienced that at all. I think overall it is healthier for the game to have cheat engine as it is used now, because it allows the PvP community to try more things and express themselves more. It is a slight trade-off, but ultimately I think we end up with more good than bad.
Okay, so overall better than us. Okay, so Amir kind of said his part. Do you want to add something, Amir, or I can go to the cheat engine hater?
So there's a couple things I want to add here. So, like, yeah, in Elden Ring, I think it does more good than bad because of the fact that people, and this is my same position on duping, because it allows people to do more, right, and like enjoy more of the game and stay into it when they otherwise would have quit, because it's just, you know, there's not enough replayability to really get those things naturally. And I think where the key sort of problems are, like in terms of feeling like it's cheating when you're actually like fighting players, it really there is a argument to be had there. Like in DS1 and like Demon Souls or whatever, it was probably the worst, right? Where you could get 99 humanities and divine blessings. There was no developer limit on that, so it's sort of just a developer saying like, oh well, realistically nobody's gonna, like, they'll have to put an insane amount of time to get these, so if someone gets that, well, haha, right, like, you know, I guess they only get to do it once, right? And then, but the problem is that while you could take that perspective and you would have like really rare cases of people having 99 blessings, the end result is the same, where the player being subjected to it, fighting some guy with 99 divine blessings, has to deal with that, right? Like it doesn't matter if they cheated it or not. Like, it's the same end result if they just spent all that time anyway. But in total, the fact, if you can cheat it, there will be more players doing that. So it's both the fault on the developer side, I think, and the player kind of abusing it in a way, because the fact that realistically, you know, because like we have those limits in Elden Ring as well. In the sense that we have some things that players just don't use because it feels like cheating. Like Radiant Baldachin's Blessing in Arena. I think it has like 60 poise or something.
It is insane, actually. It also like has some sort of the weird effect on it that like you're just not getting staggered by certain damage level, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite funny. Continue.
I think.
G disappeared.
Yeah, maybe he has to go.
Oh.
One sec, my OBS is fucking up. I'll restart PC. Okay.
Oh, he's restarting.
I mean, you can continue. Yeah, we good.
Yeah. So like, there is those sort of lines where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is just fucking stupid. If you're, reloading your save every time, or item gibbing with cheat engine, a Radiant Baldachin Blessing for like every arena match, every invasion you go in, right? So there is some extent where it sort of feels like this is so bad that you can do this in the first place in PvP that it kind of feels like I'm wrong to doing it. If I encounter someone else doing it, I'm not going to be like, you fucking asshole for doing that. Like, well, you cheater. Because I don't care if they, you know, legit went through a full playthrough and got that, or if they cheated. It's sort of just like the end result. It's sort of just like, okay, I don't really have much fun fighting you, but like, I mean, I guess you can do that. You're not technically cheating in the session we're having, right? So it's sort of just like, but you know, I wouldn't recommend it to others, but like, it's kind of the developer's fault. And the same goes for things like Starlight Shards in a way where, you know, I've used them at sometimes, even though I've just dropped them. And then other times I've sort of felt like, I sort of mostly just try to use it in a way that's not like leaning into the strategy of having that ridiculous FP pool, right? Because like it does feel kind of weird, the fact that you have to go to like new game to get more, and the amount you use in invasions is just not reasonable to the amount that, you know, of effort you have to put in. But then at the same time in like DS3, everyone used Siegbrows. So it's sort of like it's so annoying, because it's like you don't want to put it on the players, but at the same time you can't help but at least put it on yourself, right?
I mean, the From Software kind of I'm not sure if this is because of the awareness about the existence of cheat engine or whatever, but ever since Dark Souls 3 there are like these limitations. Yeah, you cannot, for example, have on yourself more like Siegbrows than 10. Yeah,
and
or
one divine blessing,
and so on. Yeah, I wonder like if this type of limitations, definitely this type of limitations would be required. For example, for the sake of freaking the blessing thingy that you mentioned, because yeah, right now, like technically from the balance perspective of the game, our down our downside for using blessing is that like first you need to get minus 5% HP debuff, yeah. When you are like using cheat engine to spawn this item and you are going to use this item, then you are completely working around this.
Oh, okay.
This particular.
Well, that's kind of like a special case. Like I didn't even know it did that, and
yeah,
lucky I didn't. What is it? Use it that way because I wouldn't have.
Yeah,
known.
because you firstly have to hug the lady at the how that's called round table, yeah, and she gives you that debuff until you are going to use that particular item.
Mm-hmm. So, but even assuming if that weren't the case, like every of what I've said about the feeling of players actively avoiding using that item in PvP because of the fact that it's sort of you have one per playthrough, and then it just sort of allows you to have like such an advantage that sort of feels like you shouldn't be able to have like in regular PvP,
yeah,
right?
like
Since it's like once per playthrough.
People, the vast majority of people, whatever you want to say about like the community of Souls games, I would say is reasonable, and I do not experience, besides like plenty of very unhinged individuals to for example use stuff that would be clearly not fair towards someone that is just not using cheat engine.
Okay, but like the problem is, I feel like where do we draw the line?
Yeah,
like, I think
like, people draw in it
agree.
individually, and this is like, you know, and what is for you considered okay, for others is not. Like, you know, we have all these arguments where like every single comment section of ours is filled with people that if you are going to hard swap like something, you are called like absolute worst scumbag and cheater, yeah? So,
yeah, you didn't go through all the NG cycles to get all those great swords, or you didn't farm constantly the Golem great arrows, or how did you get all those Starlight shards? Like, and in DS3 it was Siegbrows, like Chase the Bro always got, you know, constantly people in the chat being like, how do you have all these Siegbrows, right? And that is sort of like very just annoying, because I feel like where do you draw that line, right? Like, and even like I said before, with players using the Baldur's Blessing, I sort of feel like we sort of just should disincentivize it out of it just by being like, oh, I don't really want to play that. That's kind of weird, but like you're not actually attacking the other player for doing it. It's just sort of like a community understood thing that's just sort of broken. But like I don't think even at the end of the day that we should be calling people like, what is it, like scumbags for that, because like technically it is in the game. Like it's so annoying, honestly, that the fact that like the developers left things like this in the first place.
Every single of us definitely has its kind of own let's call it a moral code when it comes to using the cheat engine, because yeah, every single of us using cheat engine, yeah, let's make it clear, but like
except for G.
G also like was using, yeah, for the build making
in DS3 maybe.
In Dark Souls 3 I used it once before Honest Merchant was a thing.
Okay.
Deleted cheat engine when Honest Merchant came out. Yeah.
Okay, but Honest Merchant is basically, you know, you are using these two for the same purpose, yeah, for the build making, for speeding up the process.
Just,
yeah,
you can't, you know.
I would not though if I was only playing on one platform.
I see.
Yeah.
It because there's a time saver aspect when you have to do it on 2 platforms, not just one. Like that becomes like a bit abusive.
But yeah, so ultimately, it's like from your perspective, it's just like kind of immoral that if you have time for like doing something legitimately, then you're supposed to do it legitimately, or what?
No, not if you have time. Like more like if cheat engine was not a thing, I think it would be better. Like if it just didn't exist, I would prefer it so that everyone is on the same page and has to actually play the game. But it's not the case. I just like to live in the current reality. So if we have a tool available, I'll use it, even if it's not necessarily my preferred way of doing things. But you have to do what you got to do. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
But yeah, like, come on, Noro.
Yeah, I would like to chime in real quick. This is coming from, again, this is like content creator PvP perspectives. To play devil's advocate here, I would say, what about someone who doesn't have time to necessarily go through the game and make a bunch of builds for different characters? I mean,
I would recommend them to download Cheat Engine.
Yeah. That's the thing. We said that Cheat Engine
it's a game.
Yeah,
that's the game. It is literally the game. The game is to play. Like you need to play the game to get these things.
I totally agree with you, and I would love it if it was exactly how you said. People have to earn their stuff. They just have to make the character. They just have to do it. That's part of the game. I totally agree. But I am trying to think of it from a different perspective, in that someone doesn't have all these hours to play the game. They're never, ever, ever going to have that much time within, a couple weeks to even make a single character without doing, cheat engine, muling, however you want to call it.
So you're saying there's people out there that cannot play the game if they don't have cheat engine?
They cannot make several
PvP They can,
characters.
but it would be less enjoyable process, definitely.
It would be less enjoyable. It would be more grindy. It would be an inconvenience, a major inconvenience for these people. And I agree. I'd say with you, my personal opinion is that, God, I wish that none of this cheat engine exists. I wish that everyone had to earn their own builds and just do it the old-fashioned way. I totally agree. But I'm trying to think of another perspective here.
And I think this is very fair perspective because, yeah, indeed, I think like just Souls games are too grindy. For like the game that is partially firstly focused on that like single player experience that has the additional multiplayer components, I have feeling like the game is just way too grindy. Like it's very hard to exist in this game and just enjoy it outside of that like regular playthrough, because it almost feels like the game is not designed for you to exist
for
within
more
it.
than your original playthrough, pretty much.
Yeah, and here comes Dark Souls 2, all in white, and being like, yo, dude, you wanna some upgrading materials? Here is the bell tower. Just sit here, do some PvP. For every win you get in chunks. And that was so good, man.
So yeah, this goes into like a better thing where sort of like, I feel like, what is it? People, we would want to recommend cheat engine less if it weren't the case. Like, I think the first playthrough, it's like reasonable. The first playthrough or first couple of like NGs, like most people, it's cool for them to like
to be limited.
And yeah, to like figure out their character and stuff, especially on release of the game or a DLC. Like, I think people should definitely not just instantly jump on cheat engine or whatever, because nobody, like, you shouldn't have to use cheat engine to even like, to like experience that content that early, right? And to have like all that stuff, like you like what Law said, he wanted to feel like, he
earned everything, right? But once you earned everything, like, you shouldn't have to constantly grind, like spend so much time grinding and farming, like it's such a menial task, like farming, killing birds, to have like, I don't know, rope fire bombs and shit. Like, why isn't that? Other games do farming way better, right? Some games, like, you have to just do a dungeon again, but you can go through the dungeon with like your friends and whatever, and there's like drop rates and stuff like that, but it's actually pretty fun to do on repeat. It's not as much as a grind because there's actually things you're doing in between. And then, like you said,
Like there's the bell towers. There's like a million ways they can innovate it. But like as long as they're
and they
not
already
changing
did in the past with Dark Souls 2 that was very multiplayer oriented. Like the Dark Souls 2, like that was, dude, like people a lot hate on Dark Souls 2 for this whatever reason. I think from the PvE perspective it is not the best game, I do agree. But from the perspective of someone that exists in these games, in the Souls games, that like stays with them, just play them, and like enjoy them for thousands of hours, dude, Dark Souls 2 was so good. You are going to NG Plus, or you can just buy everything. You go to the shop, you want to buy the cracked Aerob, here you go. You are not limited anymore. Like you want to buy yourself like some sort of the upgrading materials, you can just freaking do that, no problem. Just go to the NG Plus, easy, you have access to everything. Like you get into NG Plus, you have vast majority of things that were locked like they are currently in Elden Ring, yeah? Like the limited amount of the equivalent of the Titanite slabs, yeah, for example.
Wait, so
yeah?
I'm not educated on this. So
on NG Plus, you
DS2?
have things basically unlocked. You can buy infinite amounts of things that on normal NG are limited.
So is there anything in DS2 consumable wise that, you know, like you would use on a regular basis in PvP that like on your first playthrough, say you would not be able to get like a repeated amount, it would be like pretty grindy, or you'd have to like go to NG, but like in the new game, you basically can buy everything. There's like a shop, and as long as you just have souls, which are pretty easy to get,
so
then you can just
pretty much like it was a while since I was playing Dark Souls 2 in with, you know, adding all the PvE aspect to it, but there was a lot of things that worked exactly in that way. Like the normal NG was designed essentially around your regular first playthrough experience, and once you get into NG Plus, the game is designed ultimately around you existing within it and giving you all the okay, so I basically wasn't using cheat engine in Dark Souls 2 at all when I was doing content in 2014 and 15, and it wasn't hard to exist in this game at all. Like, you know, yeah. It's you could just like everything was grindable. You are going to the arena, like you are dueling someone in the arena, and you win the duel. Oh, here, gamer, here you go, the cracked Aerob for winning the match. And like, you know, on the normal NG, you could just get these cracked Aerorbs in the amount of only 10. You could buy only 10 of them in the shop normally, but you go to NG Plus, and the amount is infinite from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be anyone though against the idea of like just being able to buy everything like that? Like,
yeah,
I feel like everyone wants a merchant like that, like an NG Plus merchant or like something like this. Like, is anyone like against that? Like, does anyone have anything against that?
No, I don't think people really do. Like, the only reason why you would make something like not able to be bought repeatedly is if it was like a rare item that you can use infinitely anyway, and once you get it, you shouldn't have to like get it again, right? Like, there should never be something like Starlight Shards that once you get, like, you basically completed the game and you've done like all this stuff, like you shouldn't need to keep playing the game over just to fuel a basic thing that you'll need in PvP or even PvE, but especially PvP. You should never be limited in that way where it feels like you have to literally grind or have to open a third-party software to basically have a constant supply of it, or else you're at a severe disadvantage.
I feel like this is a pretty simple fix. Like, I'm expecting it to come out in the DLC. I think they're gonna listen to that because I feel like we've made some noise about that. It would be great if something like this came with the DLC. I think it would be a good opportunity.
What was Certainly. With Dark Souls 2, by the way? No, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. Like, did you have like possibility to buy at some point Titanite slabs? Because I stopped playing when these were limited to certain amount and you couldn't like get more of them per one playthrough.
I'm pretty sure you could everything but Titanite slabs and a few things like Divine Blessings. You could buy repeatedly with souls.
Okay, like, but Titanites, you still had these limitations that just you had to go to the another NG because you had the certain amount of slabs limited. They never got rid of that, yeah?
Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure actually I've literally seen like, what is it, jeenine in some of your videos. I don't know if it was just only like Elden Ring or DS3, but like where you had like +9 weapons or not fully upgraded weapons because like you just didn't even like
that was Elden Ring.
The top level.
Yeah. Those Elden Ring, for the first 6 months, I didn't use any duping or reloading save or any of that. I just played it legit to see what it was like. So I got a pretty good idea of how the game plays, like default, without like any sort of like duping or reloading or any form of exploit, pretty much. So I got a good idea for that. I played that for 6 months, and then I told myself, after 6 months, the game has been out long enough. People have already completed the game. And I feel like it's more fair after 6 months, if you have to face people, that they should be expecting like people to be fully geared up after 6 months. And that's how I did it. But I liked one thing that I really liked that I didn't know I would get hooked on was when I was invading, the runes I was getting meant a lot for me when I didn't dupe any weapons, because with the runes I was getting, I could actually buy upgrade material and kind of load my inventory with more weapons. So that was very rewarding in that sense, and that was completely lost the moment that I started reloading my save and duping the material.
That's the thing that sucks about like cheat engine and stuff, and just people being able to like dupe and get items like immediately, is that it feels like you can't build your character on PvP without like severely shooting yourself on the foot, because like someone will have like an overleveled phantom, or they'll just be like a twink that's already had everything drop for them. But you certainly can do it, right? Because when you're especially invading those lower levels, like a lot of the players, you're not noticing it, but they have like severely unupgraded weapons, or using something that's like not optimal for their stats currently. So like I think it is like a valuable thing to sort of like, and a completely valid and pretty cool thing to like actually sort of suck it up and actually build your character off like invasion and stuff. That's really cool. But like, especially coming from PC, where like I know how things are, it feels like not interesting for me to do that myself, I think I did it once on like SL10 or something. That was a pretty nice experience, even though there's like a lot of overleveled phantoms and twinks. Like it was just being able to having to use what was near me. But yeah, I think if they design things better, then that would be appealing to more people, and a lot of people would play a lot more like how G did in those first 6 months. Actually, I wanted to ask, from that experience, like, was there any items you sort of avoided just using in PvP because they were just not worth the farming and effort to like acquire them? Like, did you use Starlight Shards much?
Yeah, so I had a few Starlight Shards that I would use, only like those that I got by playing the game, that I would really only use on invasions I really wanted to win. So like if I was fighting shitters, for instance. Other than that, I was pretty much passing up on nearly all consumables in the game, because even bombs, like I was not using pretty much any consumable aside from knives and like stuff that you could buy over and over. So really, it kind of dampened the experience, as far as there's so much content in this game from consumable alone, like PvP wise, like learning how to play with a lot of these consumables. Some of it makes a big impact on the game. Like for instance, when you start playing with sleep pots or with rod bundles, like those are a big deal. Like in a lot of situations, those can be like a key part of your strategy, and not being able to play with those things and not learning how to play with them was definitely a big detriment. So again, I really think that it's important that we stress out that a big takeaway from this would be that everyone is on board with some sort of merchant, New Game Plus merchant. I think that would be a big solution for all our problems.
Yeah, and I think it's worth saying again, like, well, Cheat Engine has like its own things or whatever. Like I feel like it's just like an easier way than duping, right? Like a duping, you have to get like a second person, you got to spend a lot more time. But like it's sort of the same key problems where you can basically, without putting in the actual effort in game, getting those things just a lot faster like that,
I have just a question. Would you guys be okay if somehow Cheat Engine would completely be unavailable to use it in the game right now as we speak, as long as the things that we were talking about, so like a merchant that allows you to buy stuff in the game and so on, just would exist there? Would you be fine with like Cheat Engine be completely gone under under like in such case, that you have like actual like ways to obtain the games comfortably in the game.
Yeah, I think that's more a question for Oro.
I mean, I would say no because I play on PlayStation. It doesn't even affect me.
Okay.
I thought you were on PC, Oro.
No.
Oh, fuck. Well.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose
I
that's
thought I
a
was
question
alone
for
here.
me then, because I am certainly playing on the PC. Now, let's just take away the whole content creator thing, though, because I use it for thumbnails and all of that good stuff. So let's take that away. Would I be okay with it? Most certainly I would. If I had the ability to buy everything that I needed in the game, I would be absolutely fine with it. It would still take me a little longer to do my builds because I would have to get the souls to do that, you know? I couldn't just give myself 99 Lord runes, for example. But I would still be okay with it if the game, and I would kind of prefer it if the game gave us these options, because as we have been talking about, I simply use it for convenience, and I use it for convenience after I have truly experienced it on its own terms. You know, I don't want to break the game. I think anybody that uses cheat engine before they've actually beaten the game is an idiot, straight up, because you are robbing yourself of a beautiful experience.
I mean, like, I think it's their choice, but at the same time, it's sort of just
Idiot.
like, what are you doing? Like, literally, you're sort of like, you're robbing yourself of experience. You're not. It's sort of,
Idiot, fuckface, dumbass, poop
Plus
monster.
ratio.
Okay, that's
Oh, damn.
okay. Wait. This is where my monetization goes. Okay, listen, calm down. To be honest, I am kind of like in the split here, because from the perspective of the regular player, sure thing, but across the last year of Elden Ring being a thing, I have realized such a beautiful tool it can be. Have you, like, Lost, G and Amir definitely have seen these, or like, have you been watching some tournaments from the Duelist Event Network?
Yep.
Yeah.
The layouts, the freaking setups, like camera and everything.
Dude, it's beautiful.
Man, it is so fucking good. And I am so thankful, like, you know, for Cheat Engine to exist in that regard. It's just like, from the regular player perspective, damn, I probably would prefer if Cheat Engine wouldn't be the thing, eliminating the issues with the game. But at the same time, dude, I would so incredibly miss the good thing that Cheat Engine actually gives you.
So, like, with that, that's what I was like gonna sort of get to, where it's sort of like, as long as if you could somehow make it just so how like anything you use Cheat Engine or any mod with, like, you should still be able to. I would not give up having the ability to mod the game, but I would be completely cool if they had like a way or just some magical ideal universe where you could not interact with the online servers and matchmaking or anything if your save was like touched by Cheat Engine. If that were the case and there's just no way to do it, I think that would be ideal, assuming those other changes like G mentioned came in with like the shop and just generally having like a more pleasant farming and experience in that sense, where it's much more accessible and much more of a nice gameplay loop with PvE and PvP. And that's already the case to some degree, right? Like with easy anti-cheat in there, right, and stuff. Like you can still do saving or whatever, but for most people, your average Jimmy, they're not going to be able to use Cheat Engine online, right?
Yeah, there is some sort of the only workarounds for the sake to do that, like are like kind of private things, and
they could get unprivate. Okay, I'm not going to say much about this, but because like I don't want it to happen even faster. But as time goes on, if they don't like keep their easy anti-cheat like thing and they're not in contact with the easy anti-cheat people, then it could easily be the case where a lot more people have like bypasses to it and
I see.
are just cheating all the time. So like G was right earlier in the sense that like give it a couple years and people might have more methods to cheat. And on top of that too, people may find more ways to like cheat by just like character editing and stuff that are able to, you know, still launch the game with easy anti-cheat and get around, and that are not like, what is it, sanity checked by the Elden Ring game itself.
I am quite impressed by the fact that I wonder why it is the case that we never had the stat checks in any of the Souls games, I think. Like, you know, the game.
There's a lot of things we don't have in these games.
Yeah, that's true. But like my point is, the stats cheaters exists as long as I only remember, and no soft ban systems were catching them. Like, I'm kind of like I kind of wonder why it is the case. Like
it's just not a priority for them. It's that simple.
Yeah, like,
it was in DS3, but I think what is it? Just they very loosened up a lot of the like soft ban checks for like characters because they saw like what you could do in DS3, because there was like, you know, networking exploits where you could end up changing someone's stats and all that stuff in DS2 and DS3 and get people banned.
I see. So this is like, from this perspective, like they are aware of the flaws and just like they came to the conclusion that it's better to not check these things.
Yeah, like they've done that basically in every instance where they've been like, okay, whatever, we're just not going to ban for that. If someone cheats with it, like it's, you know, too bad, right? Which is kind of okay, but I really wish they would just maybe make like the things that you can get banned for more like certain, more obvious. But like, and less like possible to be like exploited by cheaters, like forcing it on other people, but also have like just more sanity checks, right? Like that is literally just the sort of way to go, where you know, like where you basically just make it so people can do as little as possible to other players, past like making sure their own character doesn't die, right? Like that's what Blue Sentinel does. People can still hack their health to full or whatever, but like the other game basically just has the option to kick them or disconnect with them once it's detected something like them going back to full HP after being at 0 HP, right, after dying, or the game detecting that the other person is putting effects on them that would not be possible, right? Or the other game is detecting that they're backstabbing them from a distance and stuff that and the conditions are not possible.
Actually, that's quite curious thing to me. Like, I wonder if that wouldn't be really discouraging to cheaters to cheat on you in case if the session would be just simply abrupted. Yeah, it just would, you know, you would get kicked and that's it. Like, you know, like even if you are going to do something to the other player, you're gonna give them like some sort of the suspicious items or something like that. The session, like, just instead of soft ban happening, the session just disappears.
Well, no, the sanity checks, like the sanity checks don't soft ban people. They just prevent the thing from happening in most of the cases. And the soft bans are just where you send invalid data to the server, like about your character. Like, oh yeah, my character has 99 in all stats, but is also 100 level 125. Then like you get flagged for banning on the ban wave time because they don't want to instantly tell you what you got or suggest to you what you got banned for.
I think we went around the question pretty much. Is there any other topics still that you want to bring up? I feel like we're kind of repeating the same things now.
Yeah, this is very good point, and I in fact essentially I kind of would like to finish with the topic of the cheat engine just by saying that essentially it's not like, you know, the answer to the question is probably not as simple as just like remove it or not remove it. Yeah. It's like in my opinion, these games are kind of very sandboxy, let's call it that way, yeah, when it comes to the way how people play them and how to make them enjoyable to play. and like it's a big of an issue that like reality is that like at the given moment, cheat engine does exist. It is huge part of the game, and I am not sure if it's just like not better for everyone's sanity to kind of accept just existence of this. Yeah.
See what you did there.
Yeah, I clearly did something here. What do you think like it is absolutely fine with the idea of just like, you know, like, okay, like I know that like a G is like, okay, it does exist, therefore like we just gotta use it. Does anyone have anything against this type of the ideology, or like we are all on the same side with it?
I think we're mostly on the same side. All I'd say is that just when it comes to cheat engine, like we only offer it as like an option to people or suggest it with like all the caveats in mind. Like make sure whatever you do, you don't like,
be mindful.
You know, accidentally cheat. You don't accidentally get yourself banned. There needs to be like education and resources there and stuff like that.
So
right?
ultimately, just be mindful.
Oh, provide duping as an option. Yeah, just generally be mindful. And also, like, probably sway them against and, like, sort of keep in mind that, like, also there's things like Radiant Baldican's Blessing and stuff like...
Yeah, okay, but we are talking about... Let's just keep it short. Like, so ultimately we are all on the same side that, like, cheat engine does exist. Use it if you want. If not, then don't use it. Just be mindful, yeah? And this is where we can end with this particular topic. We agree on that?
Basically common sense.
Yeah, simple common sense.
It's common sense, but like I feel like it needs to be said like in detail, like we've done here, for people to really get it. It's sort of like, you know, be kind and respectful, and everybody goes into it and they're like, oh yeah, that's cool and whatever. But then the moment they like, they face a weapon they don't like, then they're suddenly in someone's DM sending like death threats or whatever. So like,
okay,
you know.
this is actually amazing, dude. I am actually. It happens so rarely in these games. In comparison, like to me at least. Do you guys get in like hate mails often? I know G actually has like the messages completely turned off. How about you guys?
I was having too much. That's why I blocked it.
Like Lost and Oro, like especially question to you because like I don't know about your your inbox. How does it look like in your case? Nothing.
I haven't gotten hate mail for like 10 years since I made Quest for Hate Mail, dude. They know.
Okay.
They know I'm gonna make fun of them publicly. They don't send it anymore.
Okay.
People love me.
Dude.
I'm such a lovable, beautiful person.
Does it annoy you?
I don't wanna brag or anything.
You guys don't play with lances though, that's why.
Yeah, like that's what I was gonna say. It's like the amount of comments I get like this, like the one I just posted in chat, is basically directly correlates with like my behavior in game and what like weapons I use. If they're like less honest, or if like the player is like I can just sort of like feel what they're feeling, and if I just play a certain way, like I'll just hit a certain nerve, and then like even with I don't like I literally never BM basically, but despite that, like I can sort of just feel it. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense that the person sent me that specific mail because I played this certain way, and I could have like I felt that they were not having that, you know. Like this guy in particular that I sent, he was using Bloodhound Step thrusting sword in arena. And he was so sloppy with it and constantly accidentally doing the wrong thing. Like, it was clear that he did not want to do a back step out of the Bloodhound step. I ended up flawlessing him. So, like, yeah, like, and I bowed to him, but, like, he clearly was upset about it. Like, he just sort of felt like, I guess I was, like, the biggest scumbag in the world with how I played, I guess. Like, I was not passive or anything, too. It's just...
But yeah, like stuff like death threats and so on, it's like, you know, it's mostly things sent by people that are completely unhinged, and it doesn't fucking, like, you know, it's every fucking PvP competitive game, it's literally the same shit. Like, the amount of these things I have seen in the other communities. Like, I would say that Souls community is still kinda tame when it comes to these type of things. That being said, right now, especially right now, like, why people grew up? What the fuck is this? Like, man, in the first month of Dark Souls 2, I had 40 pages of hate mails on my Steam profile. in Elden Ring, maybe 3. Like across the year of playing. It's I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy that people are just like a more reasonable nowadays, apparently, or sad because the number is not high enough.
I have the same weird feel. I don't know what it is. I think on console at least it's been harder to send messages. It's not as convenient.
Oh yeah, because on consoles now, if you send one wrong word, there's a real chance you might get reported and banned.
Oh, look at that.
PlayStation is pretty severe with that. So if you send like bad words, like it's very strict. Like if you get reported, if the person that you send it to reports it, very, very, very high chance that you might get banned for it. I know a lot of people who did.
Yep.
So PSN is kind of keeping people in check. That's
well,
actually
a lot of the BM that gets sent there is like there's these weird kind of GIF and like funny like kind of emotes, GIF, whatever you want to call it, and it's like images of like plushies and like weird shit. And that's usually what people send for BM. It's like these weird, like, cute plushies. Like, if you fight, like, some nasty gankers, they'll send, like, a little plushie as BM.
Oh, my fucking...
That's so funny.
Actually, the monkey sticker golden. Someone in chat, like, knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, that sounds actually great.
This is literally, like, a thing in other places where they have to, like, get around. So they just make it so, like, the plushie thing is basically their way of, like, saying a slur or something.
Do you guys have like somewhat of awareness about what's going on in world of League of Legends? Like, do we have anyone here that is aware like about what is going on in that game?
I do not. I've not played it, but I have like every friend like that I've talked about with it or watched them play. Like they're basically seconds away from saying some of the nastiest things.
No. Listen, like that's not what I mean. Like I want to relate stuff to things that G said, and as we speak, I am going to send you a link to, or not the link, but the picture. Actually, link. Let me see on Discord. So. You see, they are talking about these plushes and so on, yeah? This is, you see it on the chat, this is icon that is supposed to, this is like ping that they introduced in the newest season of League of Legends. That's supposed to basically represent a bait. You're supposed to use this ping to inform your teammates that, for example, here in this bash they are baiting. Yeah, you're gonna die if you're gonna get closer. But you can probably imagine for what this ping is used. Yes, I think it is quite obvious what community like actually using that for. But yeah, it's actually that kind of. Let's call it hidden toxicity. Is hilarious, man. People looking for like ways to be toxic, even though it's looking ridiculous very often.
I mean, it's preferred to, people just indirectly in chat saying things, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. But yeah, so I see. So basically PSN is more tame, or at least looks like it is more tame, because there is actual real repercussions that might come after you, yeah?
That and it's a lot less convenient. It's a lot less convenient to send messages to.
Yeah, you don't want to see you don't want to see what the PSN players get up to when it comes to like their chats in our Discord. Like a lot of the people that like just ignore our rules and just try to beef with people, like they're more often the PSN players.
I mean, this is actually like another topic that we can smoothly segue to. Listen, why PlayStation is kind of like fucking jungle?
Like because I'm the king.
Yeah, that's actually that's kind of understandable. But so why have such a monkeys in your kingdom? Like
honestly,
how?
I felt the same way when I came to PC.
Okay, so this is the point of view depending where you are sitting, yeah, basically.
Well, I'm not defending. It's just that
no.
It's
Point
always
of
different where you're like where you're not playing, but like for the most part, like having played fairly like a lot on both, even if I'm not currently playing Elden Ring on PC, I'm really confident it's very similar. It's just from the outsider's perspective, it always might seem kind of different, but I think it's fairly similar, honestly.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. It's just, what is it? Mostly like it's sort of like the conflict between like NA players and EU players, like the fake conflict. Like on the Elden Ring PvP Discord, we like to joke about it like all the time. Like, and the same thing with like NA West players versus NA East players. Like we make fun of like the California players, but at the same time, like it's all like unserious. Like obviously, there's nothing really like inherently different between the players of these regions. It's sort of just like a way of like, let's say, venting things with like latency and being like, oh, I'm so upset about it, but you're not really that like upset about it. Like you're not blaming it on the other players. It's just like a fun way of sort of like expressing those things, and it's just funny to like joke as if there is like like PSN players are in a jungle or something. Like it's mostly a fun joke. Some people I think take it too seriously and end up like actually bantering, like we said, but like on like the RPVP server, we just mostly like mute people if they actually unironically are like being rude to people and stuff.
I have the whole document that is called Professional Cheaters in bracket PS Gang Ghetto Rabbit Hole, and I am going to link you this document because I have a plan to make a documentary video about people
PlayStation cheaters.
Yeah, about PlayStation cheaters. Here is this document. There are like like I am collecting. I am essentially collecting the names and like the links to the channels and kind of like looking like further into what is going on here, because
don't give these people the exposure. That's the worst thing you can do.
It's not going to change anything, yeah, to be honest.
Yes, it is. Like it makes it worse for us that are here. Like the moment you give them exposure, you give them power. It's really not the way to go about it. Like trust me, I've been interacting with these people for a while. Like I know how to deal with them. That's just not the way to go, honestly.
I can always, just like not mention any names to just make this documentary completely anonymous.
Yeah. If you don't mention names, it's fine. Yeah,
Another thing
that's what I would suggest.
If you do it like time long after, like people, like the community is already like dispersed and whatever, that's like another way you can sort of do it without, really giving them much power or whatever, because like nobody really even cares anymore, right? Like if you were going to do something on like the DS1 community or something, right, then it wouldn't really matter because like it's not like there's going to like respawn drama or whatever. Maybe like some of the players mentioned there would be like upset loosely, but they've already like moved on by then. So yeah, like
I don't think targeting people directly is a good thing though. No matter like who it is, no matter what they've done, I don't think it's a
I am not a fan of this idea
to,
yeah,
big things.
Unless it's PP version, then
yes, that's correct. That's correct. By the way, like I'm gonna do the segue in the moment to the another topic that I wanted to talk about. It's just like a little bit more about so-called cheaters. Yeah, I fell into this rabbit hole because I somewhat managed to get like recommendation where like one of these guys like exposing another one in Dark Souls 3, and then I started getting these recommendations, and dude, they are amazing. All of them like working directly on the PlayStation. They are like making videos through the Share Factory with all these amazing animations and so on. And they are like, they are making like they are all playing on the max level. And they are exposing each other. Like one is sending like a video called, let's call one guy John and the other one let's call Sam. And one is making the video called Sam is absolute garbage at the game, get exposed. And the other one is like 4 hours later, I see another video from the another guy saying Sam exposed me, but here is my counter exposed, look at this bot player, and they are fucking like beating each other with like some sort of the random fucking kills, like in the fucking gang city on PlayStation 4. It is amazing. These people are from different fucking planet. Like they are great.
One sec. You know what's funny though? I feel like Steel, your reaction right now it just speaks to me, because that's exactly like how I reacted when I first was exposed to this. Like the first time you see these people, I actually thought like these people were trolling. Like
I thought
like, back
too.
in Dark Souls 3,
Absolutely.
I thought they were joking because that shit was too funny to me. But over time, as I got to play with these people, I realized they're dead serious. Like there's really something wrong. But for real, like when you're first like seeing this for the first time, it is so absurd that you think it's a joke. But no, it's very real. It's crazy.
It sounds to me like this is one giant circle jerk, but everybody's using sandpaper.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah,
That's about right.
yeah. Like I'll throw in my 2 cents. The funniest thing about it is literally a jungle, as in like the monkey. It's like a bunch of apes, literally like screaming at each other, trying to look like the biggest. But it's not like an actual like comparison of skill or merit or anything. It's sort of just like literally beating your chest and like getting one clip where you gank them or something like that. Like it's literally like completely devoid of like any reason. It's just pure emotion and pure like just capital letters. Like
it's amazing.
It's just the funniest thing to me.
But yeah, like I see that like problem with overall PlayStation players, that like this culture, this cheaters culture, kind of apparently reflects on people, because for example, even in that small competitive scene of ours on Elden Ring PvP Discord and so on, when the PlayStation tournaments happen, like people draw conclusion out of one round. Like, like they are like jumping to fucking weird ass fucking conclusions. They are immediately just making some sort of the judgments and so on. Yeah, there is like someone like beat someone in one BO3 and like, and immediately like, this player is the top player, and then 5 minutes later, oh no, this player is the top player, and these people are fucking serious about it. Like it's just so like, it's weird. It's wild. To be honest, I don't see that on the PC. Like, I
did on Dark Souls 3 when I played.
Yeah.
I am talking only about Elden Ring. Like, I am personally very happy.
Well, you're talking about PlayStation and then PC, so I have to make the comparison.
There. Yeah. Like, I have no idea how it was on Dark Souls 3. I can only tell how it is right now. In Elden Ring, and I personally am very fond of the PC scene on when it comes to the like so-called competitive. Like I am fond, to be honest.
Was there even
you
like...
don't get sorry Amir, but you don't really get to interact with the good people though. That's the thing, because you don't play here. Like you only see this like from the outside.
I mean,
so
I do just in case,
players.
like people like Harseru, like in Servin and so
Ark
on.
doesn't even play though. That's exactly what I'm saying. You don't get to interact with the people that play. Ark doesn't even play anymore. Hasn't played in a long time.
All right, I mean, like he goes on and off, yeah. Like he plays some, then he doesn't. He plays again, then he doesn't, yeah. But like I know they're like good actors. Like I am not like saying like the whole platform is fucking garbage. I just say that like I see it is more apparent that PlayStation players are more keen to steer drama for some reason.
That's false though. That's just false.
Okay.
Because for me, most of my hatred like toward like all the people that shit on me or whatever, people that don't
PC,
even know me, and it's from PC. Like
okay, so maybe
to me, from my perspective, it's just the same. It really is the same.
So ultimately it is like the perspective literally like it is all depends where we are sitting. And since I am sitting mostly among the PC players, then like I just like see most like negative like impact from the PlayStation, whereas like you see it the completely the other way around.
Well, no, because I played on both, so I know it's really the same.
Okay, so it is literally the same. That's in your opinion, this is basically just like these platforms do not really differ.
It's
the
like
average approach, yeah.
It's like, you know what it is like. It reminds me of like people that are maybe a bad comparison, but a lot of times like you go to another country and then you come back to your own, and people ask like how is the culture there? Like, are people different? Like, are people like more kind? You know, more. They ask about like a different culture, but at the end of the day, like if you've traveled a little bit around the world, you realize that it's the same people everywhere. Like it's just you're gonna get a lot of shit people everywhere around the world, and you're gonna get a lot of nice people everywhere around the world. It's really the same thing. Like it's not much different. One platform doesn't change that.
Okay, so ultimately, like it's safe to assume that I just have here like a particular bias of the fact that I just don't see the other side too closely. It sounds about right. I used to play on the multiple platforms in the past, in my case, like it was working a little bit differently. I wanna tell you guys the story because I was playing semi-competitively or like attempting to play at least in Smite on PlayStation 4 when it was released back in 2016, and I have also played Smite on the PC. And like in my case, sadly, like the experience was like, you know, like that on the average, the PlayStation players are way more unhinged. But yet again, it is only individual perspective. Yeah, it is only like a kind of biased perspective of someone that just like so happened, like these things happened to me. Doesn't mean that they are real in the like overall perspective. Yeah, of the reality. But yeah, like I personally sadly do not have like that much of the good experience with the PlayStation players, no matter the game and no matter the time. I am noticing like way more toxicity coming from the platform that are closed essentially, and I wonder like why in my case it's working like that. It is just me being in like a wrong places at the wrong time, you're
not playing on PSN, right? Like you're not playing and interacting with the people directly in DMs or whatever. Like so, like what you might just have is like this sort of perception some PC players have built up, even if that might be ironic in a lot of degrees. Like a lot of people probably do also have that perspective where it seems like PlayStation's more toxic. Like, and then when you have the sort of like exposed videos back in like DS3 or whatever, like that sort of perception just may have stayed. It doesn't need to be really representative of the actual players. It's just, you know, a perception that's developed.
Yeah, I guess it is the case. Yeah, because like there is like a particular like parts of the cultures of the particular games, yeah, it's just more apparent on one platform than the another, and because of that you're getting kind of feed with the information that comes from the one source, and it's more apparent from one source, and because of that you're thinking that like there is particular lean with this type of behaviors on this platform and not on the another, whereas in reality it's the same everywhere. It just depends, like, yeah, at which moment and where you're like interacting with people and how you're interacting with people.
I think Jane here in chat brings up a good point. Like the real issue here is that the PvEers are the most toxic one. That's the key here.
What you think about it, guys? Listen. Lost is so fully quiet. I think he is lost. Let's
look.
The PvEers more toxic. Lost.
Are PvEers more toxic? They are certainly easier to get a little bent out of shape since I am invading them, but I haven't really experienced a lot of negativity in these games. I experienced it a little bit in Dark Souls 3. I have experienced slightly more on the PlayStation than I did on PC, but that's simply because it's easier to send messages on PlayStation to find me. In truth, though, I have never truly given a shit about any of it. Unless the hate mail was really funny, I just let it be because truthfully, I don't think it's too healthy to create
videos every other time you upload with hate mail to it, because it will foster a kind of community that you probably wouldn't want to be a part of.
Can I add on to that?
Please do. I love it when you cling on to me.
Yeah, so, so, like, with that, I feel, yeah, that's sort of right, where if you make videos showing hate mail, like, the original intent might be to, like, basically be like, look how silly this player is, getting so upset at the game, or just being kind of like an awful person over, like, nothing, right? But then it sort of fosters into something, I've noticed it foster into something that's sort of like hate mail collecting, and then it's sort of like, wait, so you're actually trying to upset people on purpose, you're baiting them into it, trying to get them upset, and then sort of like basically sending hate mail back to bait out more hate mail, right?
Okay, you guys know I'm right here.
Okay.
And we love you.
Please continue.
I've not seen you making videos like that. At least, I don't know, at least not with Elden Ring.
Yeah, I haven't got hate mail, but yeah, no, that's been my whole spiel for a long time.
But like, yeah, you was making the content out of the hate mails, yeah.
I like to egg people on, but go on.
Just I want to hear your take on something Elden Ring. Like, tell us something. Like, what would you want us to answer? Like a question, whatever. Like, I want you to talk a little bit more because I'm interested in your takes, but. I mean, we're hearing is Steel and Amir going on about cheat engine, so I want to hear you talk a little bit.
Well, I mean, what do you want to hear?
I mean, I want you to talk to me about Elden Ring,
Just talk
but
to
I mean,
me.
Really anything.
Talk to me about Elden Ring, no
Yeah,
matter
talk to
what.
me about Elden Ring, like, like what? If you could like tell something to like our audience, because we have like all different audience, or maybe actually it's pretty split in the Discord here. Like, what would you say? Like, I don't know.
I would say that Elden Ring invasions are the most fun that I've had in a Souls game since Dark Souls 2.
That's your favorite Souls game, no?
Yeah. It's fantastic.
Dark Souls 2 is your favorite. But Elden Ring is second?
No, Elden Ring number 1. But for PvP, Dark Souls 2 number 1, yeah.
What
but Elden Ring overall,
Elden Ring have to do for it to be better PvP wise than Dark Souls 2?
Way more balancing. You know that half the weapons are absolute trash, unviable at the highest levels. There's obviously problematic shit like you know, dual lance and other fun stuff that just way above the rest. Dual wielding in general, just super strong. All the poise stuff we talked about, light rolls, etc., etc. Just need some more balancing, honestly. But I really like it. Buff hammers. Buff hammers. Buff everything that's not being used, honestly.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that I like about Dark Souls 2 is that you can literally use anything at a high medium level and it's viable. Like, it's awesome. The build variety is limitless, and this game has that potential because it has so much stuff. You know, I've never had so many weapons and armors and spells. It's a massive sandbox that is just it's whittled down to just a few things, and that's sad. And I hope that they balance it more and spread it out, but they're going in a good direction so far.
Yeah, I think it's just really key for us to continue. Basically showing them where they can buff things without making them to the degree where
okay, that's quite a fucking big circle that we did over here to something that we were talking about 2 hours ago. Not gonna lie. So
sorry, Lost. You keep saying buff hammers. Like how? What do you want to see from hammers?
No, you don't understand. It doesn't matter. He's just a hammer salesman. It's even if hammers would be top tier weapons in this game, this is the sentence. This is the word. Like, you know, buff hammers would be still spoken from Lost Mouth. So yeah.
My love from hammers, it's important to understand that my love for this blunt instrument of death stems from Dark Souls 3 and how I could roll catch people into oblivion with them. I don't expect the hammers to return to its former glory, but honestly, the weapon is too short, too slow, and it doesn't do enough damage. What I would do, and this is just my opinion, but it's correct, is that I would give the hammers the ability to do a 2-hit combo like Dark Souls 3. Give them that. Only weapon. It would make it unique. You could adjust the damage if so needed. But give it that so that you could use the extra stun to mind game your opponent, maybe get a few more roll catches in there. I just miss it so much. Gee, I just miss it.
He just misses it.
Yeah.
Do you get like do you equip the dwarves in Dwarf Fortress with hammers? So that's a very important question.
I do actually.
Okay,
I do
okay.
Specifically the mace.
Okay. You can tell that the love for hammers is true here. Like
In fact, that's what I call my penis.
Oh.
Okay, listen.
The
Listen.
mace.
Okay,
All the
listen.
time.
Listen.
Speaking of that, look at the stream.
Yeah, that's what
Speaking
I
of
tell my
that,
wife. Let's
look
experience some blunt force trauma together.
Look at the time.
Yeah, we have been talking for a while.
Yeah, okay. Does anyone have to actually eat out? Like, are you limited on time, or we can sit a little bit more and talk?
I may
by the
pass
way?
out, but
Okay, right.
if I don't answer any questions, just assume that I'm asleep.
Yeah, it's like off topic from the content. Off topic from the content creator perspective. I think like G is going to have, if I counted correctly, around 6 videos out of it. Yeah, I am.
You know how I milk my stuff.
I mean,
Milk
like, you literally got these 6 videos before the podcast like officially started, and yeah, it's so like it's fucking mine.
You can milk me as much as you want.
Just in
G.
case, I'm gonna. I'm going, you know, to edit this podcast probably for tomorrow or the next 2 days. I'm just gonna send you that in the form of MP4, so you can just upload it like on your channel too. So anyone that is sitting here is not living with nothing. You know, if you want to upload it on your channel, you can just more than welcome to do that. I'm gonna give you the thumbnail if you want. I'm gonna give you the everything. Yeah, so. Yeah, if you guys are not going anywhere, if you can just if you are not speeding, then don't worry, your time is not going to be wasted in that way. That's what I'm going to say.
Better get uploaded.
Sorry, Oro, did you?
No, I'm just saying I'm not doing this for my health. You know, it better be uploaded somewhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's someone in chat that wants to ask you, Oro, your take on how we can grow the PvP community and encourage PvE players to do more invasions and maybe duels. It's the Coop asking.
How can we grow the PvP community? Damn. I mean,
You've
we're
been
doing
around
a
for
lot.
while.
We're doing a lot. Like with the tournaments and stuff, I think that's a nice direction. You know, it gets people
I
watching,
think we are
gets
not
people
reaching
interested.
correct audience, to be honest.
Yeah,
You
I agree
think
with
so?
Steel here. Yeah, it definitely could be reaching far many more people. There's far many more people that are interested in PvP that are just not watching the tournaments because we're not doing outreach well enough with it and getting, you know, people involved in watching it in the first place, you know? What is it?
Okay. Back to Oro, because like we actually talked so much over like G9 said, like this is like, yeah. Let the other speak. Stop. Oro,
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that like events and tournaments, yeah, you guys are right that it's not the most it doesn't bring in too many new players. It doesn't bring in too many new players to PvE. But But I think like events and stuff like Twitch Rivals, the Twitch Rivals that we had brought in a lot of people, like tons of people. It was a huge event.
Actually, it's the numbers like were like not. I don't remember. Like it was averaging some solid amount. How do you feel about Twitch Rivals, by the way, from the perspective of person that participated?
From the perspective of someone winning, go Oro.
Oh, actually, right. I loved it. Best event ever, honestly. No, I think they could have done a lot better. Let's be honest, okay?
Like
I think that they could have invited. It was a whole fucking mess. All right, let's be honest. I'm gonna leave it at that. They need to work on that for the next one. If there's going to be a next one.
Didn't you use a Bloodhound Step with the pre-patch BHS?
Oh, you bet your ass I did. I wanted to win.
Amir, what you wanted to say, Amir?
It'd be cool is if the Twitch Rivals people like actually contacted, like people who organize tournaments in the community and were like, hey, or like how can we make a proper rule set and how can we actually properly get people in the world and stuff,
Yeah, I mean, like, there was also, like, from the perspective of viewer, because I was watching it, it was huge mess when it comes to the commentary, because they brought, indeed, people that are, for example, professional commentators. But doesn't matter if you're a professional commentator at League of Legends, if you have absolutely zero knowledge about...
no.
And, like, and there was, like, about the game that you are just, like, casting, and holy shit. Oral, you didn't hear that, unless you watched the later, but... Holy fuck, man. Holy fuck. This fucking commentary was very off. It wasn't the best, sadly. Even though the commentators, like, I know these commentators from other games, they are amazing. But they just didn't work in this title.
Yeah.
But yeah, like... Any memorable, like, one memorable thing about this Twitch Rivals tournament that you had?
Me winning.
Okay. Like,
I mean, it must have felt pretty good.
What was your reaction to seeing the picture of fucking pizza with the topping?
I didn't even see that until after.
You didn't see that till after, man. Like,
no.
So just in case, let me clarify to everyone else that don't know what I'm talking about here. The sponsor of Twitch Rivals tournament was apparently Pizza Hut, I think, or Domino's Pizza.
It was Pizza Hut.
And the MVP of the tournament had their logo just placed on pizza like it would be pepperoni. So you had like fucking oroboro pepperoni pizza like screen displayed, and I fucking died when I have seen it. I lost it. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. It was so funny.
Fucking brilliant. It's especially funny because I love pizza. I got a pizza emote. I talk about pizza all the time. I order pizza.
We can high five on that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just a funny coincidence.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Lost, since I'm kind of curious to hear your perspective, because we don't get to chat like that very often. Like, what would you do to bridge like the gap between like PvE and PvP players? Like, how would you like introduce more PvE players to get to play and enjoy PvP?
From a content creator perspective, I suppose. Yeah, that's a great question. We would have to... I think I would have to try to do some more finger runs. I think content creators and streamers and all of that could do basically tongue runs or finger runs and try to get their communities to invade them. Because I'm thinking, right, what type of events could we do that bridges the gap? I don't really have any great ideas except for trying to push FromSoft to create events that we can take advantage of, because I don't see that many openings. We have a lot of tournaments, sure.
But yeah, this is community thing, yeah? What?
Yeah.
do you think, Lost, that maybe reintroduction of just simple like rewards, like in the PvP, something that was talked over like bazillion of times, but yeah, like we can talk over it again. Do you think that would help, or it is just like copium of people that currently playing the game and being like, oh, we are not having like, you know, the actual legit rewards for the PvP, and therefore people are not interested in PvP?
I think rewards could help, but it's not something that would bringing the big numbers. I'm thinking back to my own experience, and to everybody should think back to their own experience. How did you get started with invasions? I read this really interesting account from a game journalist. I don't remember which one, but you know,
I think it was Extra.
Yeah, he said that at first he started out as a blue because he wanted to help. Oh, first he started out as a normal, you know, yellow phantom, white phantom, and then he enjoyed some of the combat when people invaded, and so he turned on the blue thing and he became a blue. As disturbing and ugly as those people are, they actually get to fight a little bit, and then once they have run through as a blue, once they really get a taste for blood and they understand that, well, if I'm a blue, I probably will have to wait until I get summoned, then they go in and just try to fight as a red, and that's a really interesting progression. And so that, how can we help people take those baby steps? I basically feel like I'm some sort of drug dealer right now, dealing out free samples. Hey kid, you wanna you wanna get like 1,000 souls and a respect here? Well, all you have to do is go and kill that guy over there, and or 10 kill people, and you'll get the respect here. Yeah, that type of stuff.
Man, this is how mafia works. Holy shit.
Fuck blues.
I think that's a good idea, though. The whole like incentivizing players with actual reward. It's so simple, but I think sometimes the most simple things are the best fixes. So I think again, like it comes back to our point earlier about like the biggest like cheat engine fix they could do would just legitimately just introduce the merchant to the game. I think we've talked about this on the channel a little bit. What do you guys think about a Runark shop where, you know, we have a ton of Runarks in this game. They don't really serve much of a purpose. Like, what about like if we could get a Runark shop and then maybe even give Runarks in the arena even? Do you think that would incentivize players? And what do you guys think about that? Still, go ahead since you wanted that.
No. I just, you know, since compressor is going to mute it, so I'm not gonna do it, but imagine me clapping, because that's fucking good idea. I love the idea of basically, like, since like right now what I'm doing is just to not have this shitty prompt, I'm just dropping my fucking Runarks on the ground and just like, you know, or discard them straight away. And like they are useless to me essentially, as the person that actively plays in PvP. If you could exchange them for stuff, that would be so cool. I'm not sure if, do we have actually like legitimate system of trading though in this game? Like, I think like this is something that they would have to build up from the very bottom, no?
What do you mean build up from the bottom?
Like the system where you can exchange, for example, where something that is not souls/runes is actual currency. Like, I don't think we have systems like that in the game, no? Like
I don't think that would be too hard.
Actually, I'm bullshitting. There is a system like that in the game. The boss souls.
Oh yeah.
So they actually can do that then. There is like something that can build that.
They have the technology.
Yeah, they have the technology. It can actually works. I love the idea. That's my take.
What do you want to see in the Runark shop?
Okay, so yeah, I would say upgrade mats. Upgrade mats would make people actually invade, guaranteed. Give them slabs, like a 10% chance for a slab. Or make it like 10 Runarks. You know?
Larval tears as well. Respec.
Larval Tears, God, yeah, respects, dude. You know, people would I'd kill someone for a respect.
We literally would kill people for respects.
Yeah. That they would just be rewarding because so many people ask me like, "Hey, what do you get for PvP?" And I'm like, "Fun." And that's all it boils down to for us, for PvPers. It's never been about the rewards. It's just because it's fun, you know. We just play because we enjoy it, because it's engaging, it's experience, it's dynamic, you know. It's great. But having an actual reward system, like you guys said, is perfect. That would get people playing, guaranteed.
Yeah, that would get the PvEers that don't necessarily like it yet to try it for the reward until they like it. So you kind of force it upon them.
You better like them.
Like speaking of basically, like, if we are kind of on the rewards, man, Dark Souls 2 again.
So good.
Here we go.
The fucking dude, like, why they never introduced the auras?
Steel, I feel like you and me are the only people who are like, "Oh, Dark Souls 2, the best times," and everyone else is like, "Oh, what the fuck?"
Okay, these fucking idiots again. Yeah, classic. But I legitimately, like, there's few things about Dark Souls 2 that would work in any of these games without the junkiness of Dark Souls 2, and one of them are auras. Like, I knew that, like, I was almost sure, like, that it's not going to happen, but I still had that one glimpse of hope that maybe with the introduction of the Colosseum, like in the patch 1.08, we would have the auras. Like, if explanation. So essentially you have the regular red bad man aura, like you have in Dark Souls 3, in Elden Ring right now, in Dark Souls 1. This is your standard thing, yeah? This is something that you have in Dark Souls 2. But if you are going to win 50 matches on the arena, if you are not 50 matches, win 50 matches, but if you are like plus 50 matches in your overall win ratio, then you are actually getting upgraded aura. From now on, you have like, I have no idea how to describe it. Like, you have like a nice small effects around you that are flying. And then if your win ratio is 150 plus to your deaths in the arena, then you are getting freaking glowing aura that looks epic with the freaking the effects that I was talking about earlier being even more apparent, and you're looking awesome. And you have it both for Blue Sentinels and for the regular red arena in Dark Souls 2, and it is so great. And they never brought it back. They didn't bring it in Dark Souls 3, and now they didn't bring it in Elden Ring, and it's so sad. That was such a cool incentive to grind PvP for me.
No, I agree. It was such a great arena reward, you know? Like, even in Dark Souls 3, there was something. You got, like, the badge next to your name, and you could see that in anywhere when you get summoned in invasions.
And right now we don't even have that.
Now we don't even have that. We have a badge in the arena, and that's it.
About the cosmetics, would you guys like to see like more cosmetic type reward for an incentive? Like, what do you guys think about like armor shaders, like different like color for your armor, stuff like that? Is this something you guys would be interested in for like a Runok Shop reward and stuff like this?
I would kill a man for any more a fraction of customization in Elden Ring.
Like armor.
Well, you got fraction. Kind of.
That would be my most wanted feature. Like, even if they were like, okay, do you want to color your armor or do you want light rolls gone? I would be like, okay, I want it colors.
Me too, low key. Like, me too, honestly.
Yeah, people are like are bitching because they're like, well, if they had that, well, then there'd be everyone would put their hot pink armor. It's like, dude, have you not seen the motherfucking creations that people have? They're naked and like bright pink still. It's the same shit. Is that not breaking your immersion too? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It would just add more variety to the game, and more characters would be unique, and that would be awesome.
You've played Armored Core. You know how like deep the customization can go in From Software games, right?
God. They have the technology.
They have a technology is reoccurring theme here, it seems like.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, it's oh well.
That wouldn't even have to be a PvP reward though. That could just be a part of the game.
Yeah. That's
well, I think a rune arc, like if you add like a rune arc shop, I don't think like rune arcs would like obviously it's easier to get rune arcs for PvP, but I think they should also add as well a more reliable way PvE wise to get rune arcs, like we mentioned earlier, like the sort of horde mode, like something like that. I don't know if you guys seen the latest Zio Storm vid where he talks about a potential like PvP rush mode that was in development. We don't know if it's going to come with the DLC or not, but something like that I think would be a good opportunity to introduce maybe more rune arc if they come through with the shop.
Yeah. I think they should always have something not gated behind PvP though. Like if we were to do the slabs and the only way to get rune arcs to farm rune arcs reliably was through PvP, I wouldn't like that. Even as a PvP player myself, I'd be like, I want the PvE players, if they want to avoid PvE, to be able to farm something and get it in the relatively same amount of time. I think that would be okay.
I do wish though that like if it shouldn't just be like how it was in like in DS3 with like the menial farming of Covenant items like the fucking Dark Moons. That was just too much, and honestly, like felt like a punishment for not going in PvP. Like you can have that incentive there in a way, but it's like it should probably be a more interesting way than that.
Okay.
What about there's so many bosses in Elden Ring, like all around the map. What if these bosses gave a rune arc? That might be enough, right?
I'm surprised they don't, honestly.
It's because their rune arcs are useless right now. That's probably why they don't. That could be a way. Maybe the big bosses, the story bosses like Fire Giant and such. Maybe they could give more than just one. If the rune arc shop is expensive,
that would be a really cool idea. Yeah. I have a question for you guys.
I would marry you.
Oh, good.
Okay, here you go.
No.
Wait, what you mean no? Continue, please.
How do you guys feel about no solo invasions in Elden Ring? Do you guys think that if people rune arc up, they should be able to get solo invaded, or do you guys think the Taunter's Tongue system is working fine with the fingers?
The Taunter's Tongue system does not work at all. It is an annoying little bitch of a mechanic. Why do I have to first use one of those flowers, right, and then use the tongue? I feel like licking myself once should be enough. I don't actually mind it too much that I only invade, doubles. I'm pretty good at the game just because I played it so much. So in most cases, I still kind of have the advantage when I go up against two people. That being said, I think it wouldn't be too bad either if a person choose to use a rune arc to let them be invadable. I think it would be it would open up for more invasions, and honestly, I would love to be invaded.
Yeah.
Also, we need something in between, or some sort of setting or way to control the Taunter's Tongue in terms of its effect, because like people have constantly, like having no timer whatsoever and no choice in that. It's just like, you're just fighting one player after the other in kind of like a dual sense. It doesn't really feel like it's, just allowing you to go through the game and occasionally have this encounter or whatever, right?
And there's no time to make progress if you're trying to do like a Taunter's Tongue playthrough. Like you almost have to like rush in there as there's someone constantly fighting you, but there's no off time.
I remember
excessive.
The first time I enabled Taunter's Tongue was when I got into the capital, and it literally felt like as I was going like up the steps to where like Morgoth is or whatever, or Margit, like it literally felt like it was some sort of like special area where it's like you have to fight one player after another to get through or something, right? And that was like cool for the moment, but it's like I wish it would have I would have rather had it like on basically all the time, but just gotten someone occasionally.
I wish it just had the normal invasion timer. Like that would be fine.
Yeah.
And I wish you could turn it off too. The fact that you can turn it off is the dumbest shit ever.
Or while someone is in your world, it's awful. They should just make it so you can, like, while there's someone in your world or whatever, like an invader,
It's just
you cannot switch it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how it was in DS3 until
Counter-Strike is just fucked,
or died.
basically. Yeah, a lot of issues coming from the. Sorry, I interrupted. I'm just gonna quickly add. It's just Counter-Strike, like on its own, is an issue and needs to be completely reworked. I think like Amir said that like to me a while ago that like it seems like they don't know themselves how the fuck this shit works. Because there is no way that someone in their right mind would leave Counter-Strike working like it is working right now.
Same with a lot of the like other multiplayer mechanics, just the way they shut themselves off, the way they like when you go between areas, but when you do like basically anything, like it's actively trying to like not promote PvP. And that's the reason why I think Lost mentioned like the blue thing earlier. The blue is is legit the most inviting mechanic into multiplayer, because once you turn it on, it's on until you turn it off, and you're going to be pulled into any opportunity for online, regardless if you go out of the game, if you die, if you go to another area, that will stay on and you can keep playing the game. Everything else, you sort of just got to like stay in the same area and just stay with it, right? Even the newly added like what is it, searching the what is it, the summoning like what are they, the
Search
effigies,
everywhere,
right?
Wex dust.
The effigies and the Wex dust, even the effigies and the Wex dust, you can't just put your sign out and then get summoned when someone, you know, gets you. You have to basically stay in the same area, or every time you warp to an area or the round table hold, you got to re-enable it. Or I don't think you can even enable it in the round table hold. It's like, why?
Yeah. Like
To answer,
fundamentally.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. It's nothing interesting I have to say. Please continue. It's just like amazing.
to answer your question, Oro, how do we feel about solo invasions? Honestly, before Elden Ring came out, I thought that this would hurt the activity, and I think we saw that before they introduced Wex Dust. Like the PvP was taking like a big hit. It was hard to find some activity before that Wex Dust update. So I think that did affect the activity a lot. Now, as far as like Lost said earlier, when you're talking to like people that are more experienced, it's not that big of a deal to not have to fight solo players, because it would most likely result for experienced players in boring encounters where you just run through them. But I'm also worried about people trying to invade that are new to the franchise that want to invade. Those people cannot really get a shoe that fits them, because they're only going to get the harder, 2v1s and 3v1s. So that's definitely part of it. And
that's a great point.
I think one thing that could have been like a good middle ground was probably like introduce some sort of solo invasion in the dungeons and not the open world. Maybe that could have been a middle ground, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, that actually, yeah, like Lost said, that's a great point. I never actually thought about that from like a new player perspective. Like, it's a lot more daunting to know you're going into a 2v1 or 3v1
have you seen
in this game.
Have you seen people like Asmongold try to invade? Like, they literally just give up instantly because they get ganked and then they don't want to touch it again.
I mean, yeah, who
That's so
could,
funny. I haven't seen
who could blame them? Like, it's horrible. Like, fighting ganks is not easy.
You definitely need to have some experience in order to go in fighting multiple people at a time, because it's not you cannot. It's much harder to get lucky. Let's put it that way. Like, for a new player, like, it's going to be, you can get lucky in a 1v1, but against multiple people, it's going to be much harder to get lucky for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, kind of the low time to kill in this game helps here, because there is a chance that you are just going to accidentally one-shot someone. It does happen, yeah? So yeah, like that's something that, like, because of the way how this game is currently balanced around, or like not balanced, it's just how it turns to exist, and how like low the time to kill actually is, then it helps a little bit. That's why, like, very often when people ask me like what I think about the low TTK, I generally speaking from the overall perspective, I think it is not that bad. I like the idea because it is somewhat also inviting to the new players, yeah, because like, you know, it's just everyone have a chance, yeah, to exist within that realm of the PvP and do something and just explode someone, and then they are getting their rise of the dopamine because yeah, they just want the gangspunk, yeah.
I want to add an important point to that, though. I think the thing with time to kill is I don't think the right weapons are doing that sort of damage. I think that sort of damage has a place, like you said, but I think it should, like, the one shot should come from the big hammers, you know,
Exactly.
the very slow weapons, and
Absolutely.
like the setups that are much harder to land. Like great sword should have more damage, and straight sword, at least power stance, should have less. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
agree.
Like
I totally agree.
yeah, totally. But yeah, the low TTK is not exactly a bad thing. I maybe this is also a little bit of bias on my side because my whole life I am usually playing the low TTK type of games, usually shooters in that particular case. But like I do not see like big of the problem that the game doesn't have as long of TTK like, for example, Dark Souls 3. In fact, I find it fine. It's okay for me. It just, as you said, maybe on different weapons.
But that means that I need to get more clips to put in my videos, dude.
Okay, you have a point. You know what? I fucking hate low TTK.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
You're very easy to convince.
Yeah, I mean, like you bring the good arguments, so it's not hard to get convinced when the argument is solid.
To get back onto like the subject at hand, yeah, like the concern for like I've heard that all the time, and like that's sort of my opinion too. Like naturally, it'd just be like, oh, like I don't really mind solo invasions in the sense of the quality for the invader, because like as an invader, being prepared and also having like all the knowledge I have, like obviously it's not really a big deal. It's actually more fun if this guy has his buddy with him to like interact with me and actually like put up a fight, right? But for like the newer invader, definitely like a lot of people feel like it was better when they only had to often have those like more 1v1 style things. But yeah, the time to kill helps with...
Sorry, go ahead, Amir.
But yeah, like the time to kill definitely helps with it, in that sense of basically getting lucky at least like once in a while, like especially as an invader, just like there's so many opportunities where you can just catch someone while they're in PvE and then like you hit them once and then they mash out of it and then they die, right? So like I don't think, I think it's sort of like in an okay state right now.
Okay. G, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is there another topic that you guys really wanted to talk about? Can be anyone here.
Yeah, so actually, I wanted... You ruined my smooth segue. So, yeah, but let me actually scroll up. So, guys, just in case, I have that list of topic that I brought up here, yeah?
Ooh.
And so... The first thing on this list is actually romanticizing bad weapons.
Yes.
And this is, I brought it especially on the top because G really wanted to talk about. And,
I want to talk about it too.
And I think there is also more people that want to talk about it. So the question is, guys, what I mean by romanticizing like bad weapons. So there is that thing that belief that you are not a good player until you play with the shit weapon. Very often we can see it in our comment section. If you are going to play with something like that is minimally better, it's like you might easily like get shot for it. But I personally think that bad weapons are just, it's not like there is no incentive for me, not from the statistical perspective. They are just not fun to play. What do you think, guys? Do you think that like it's besides challenging yourself from time to time? I don't see any incentive. What do you think about it? Like maybe this time starting with G because he is usually the last one.
I want to hear Oro's take. Let's hear Oro's first. I want to prioritize people who don't get to speak as much.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to suggest a name for this. We could name it the Peverson effect.
This is so good.
Okay. This podcast is literally Oro dropping every 30 minutes fucking shit bomb on Peep. Nice. Continue.
That's just my life.
Yeah, I have seen it for like I don't know how many years at this point. So yeah.
Just that everyone thinks, Peep's a god because he uses shit weapons. And it's like, well, okay. There's no point in gimping yourself in a game where, if you don't want to, right? These weapons are so bad, and against players that have decent reaction times, they're not falling asleep at their keyboards and or controllers. Like, they're going to be able to dodge every single attack they have. Look at flails. Look at colossal weapons.
I'm sorry, I have 100% win ratio with flails.
Oh,
I used them 14 times.
It just,
but still 100. Still 100%.
I believe. Still, there's so many weapons in the game that just feel, like you said, just bad. Like, it's like people are like, oh, using meta weapons, and it's like I can't blame anyone for wanting to use the better weapons, because there's weapons that do. Okay, so a great example is fucking stupid Moonveil. I love Moonveil, but let's be honest, the damage is nuts. And compared to something like a one-handed straight sword, doing like anything, it's just the damage is just not going to be comparable. The poise damage isn't going to be comparable. It's just there's such a discrepancy between the worst weapons and the best weapons that makes it, like we said earlier, this is sort of looping back around, which I don't like doing, but the weapon variety is just not there right now, in my opinion. It's still not there. It still needs some more balancing. That's how I feel.
Do you think the weapon variety is just like not enough at the given moment between different weapons, or just literally within the weapon itself?
Within the whole game.
Okay, because like what I wanted to bring by saying that is, it's I like usually the reason why shit weapon is shit is because it literally has no tools to do fucking anything. So like there is not even like a variety in the movesets within the one weapon or one weapon class.
I would say, like stuff like faster weapons, like honestly, like any dual wield straight swords, you could take the best dual wield straight swords and use them, and that would be the best. But even the shittiest dual wield straight swords are still going to be viable, just because they have the speed and the poise damage and stuff to compete, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the move set. But again, like, that's a problem with Elden Ring inherently, is that the dual wield movesets are just so strong compared to the one-handed movesets. Why the hell would you ever use a one-handed straight sword when you could just equip two of them and do double the damage and double the speed?
The power stance straight swords, like, this is also just kind of like a rumor from like 4chan or whatever, but apparently the power stance were implemented like late into development. So what I think happened with that is the movesets were more done like artistically rather than with the balanced perspective in mind. So you have things like power stance spears and power stance straight swords basically having better movesets than their one-handed things, and then also having like basically 2 times the damage. And then you have things like power stance flails and hammers, which also share it with axes and are kind of like the most shit moveset in the game,
Yeah. I think that's probably likely, but it's still a shame. I wish they would I wish they'd just buff up one-handed attacks, honestly.
Yeah,
so huge.
Oh, so just to get this straight, the original subject was, what was the original thing we were on?
Romanticizing bad weapons.
Okay, so could I get my thing on this, because it's kind of like, yeah, like what he said, but I have like a lot of insight on this because like I see it all the time, and especially with like the tournament thing. Like in the tournaments right now, what we do basically is we restrict things that basically kind of get to a point where it's not only negating everything else, but just sort of removing fundamentals from the game, like, or basically where you don't need it kind of just kills the skill ceiling, right? But we don't ban things to the point where suddenly, great axes are viable, right? Great axes are not viable currently on the ladder in the tournament meta, right? But the reason that is because they are just not potent enough. They do not have enough frame advantage and various strengths to make them really actually usable. Like, it would not be entertaining. Like, it might be for like a one-off fun tournament or something like that, where you restrict people to only use certain bad weapons. But at the end of the day, they're bad weapons, and not just by their relative sense, but in the sense that they can't really skill express the actual like fundamentals of the game and the bones of the combat, because they're just not potent enough. They don't have enough to them. And that was the case with fists and stuff and size until they were buffed. Right?
Yeah, these small changes, yeah, they increased like the speed by 25%, and ultimately, like, Cestus right now is knocking on the doors of what we can call basically meta. It's like, still somewhere at the bottom, but you can technically take your spiked Cestus, fight against the dual straight sword, or like, for example, stuff like Shanter or like other stuff, and you will be fine. You have possibility to win. You are not feeling as such disadvantage anymore. It's like some weapons just need that little bit of push to become interesting instead of being boring and fucking bad.
Another example, power stanced halberds. So this moveset's actually pretty cool. Like, this is a frame trapping move, and this is a frame trapping move. But there's one key problem with this. Once you get... Yes. This, if you actually play this on any decent amount of poise, then it's just going to be basically this move and the other, like, halberd one-handed attacks. It's suicide to do this, because literally on reaction, I can just walk through this first swing and backstab you, right? Or I could just trade into it with anything else, and it's just like... It's just completely garbage because of the poise element. And that's because when it comes to power stances, it's just blanket 60% of what your one-handed move would do. So it's 60% of what this does on both of the moves. So in total, it does more, but since they're like independent swings and stuff like that, it sort of just breaks it, right? And it's that ends up making it so only things like power stance straight swords, which swing basically entirely together in the same small period, are actually useful, because it's kind of like one attack still. But anything that like attacks separately like this, it's kind of useless because of that blanket decision.
You got out of frame, just in case. Okay, very nice. Continue.
So where would I go next with that? Yeah, like, so it's sort of those blanket decisions. They just need that sort of like hands-on design where they're sort of like, okay, we're designing this not like the straight swords where it's just like two together swings, but this is like two independent swings like this, and there's a lot of commitment. So let's make it so, say, both of these do the equivalent of a standing R1 hit. And that way, people can't take it unless they're going to that breakpoint, right? So just little things like that could take the power stance moveset of halberds and make it in a pretty fair state. You wouldn't even need to touch the damage on this, right? The only like concern might be like if you think like the jumping does too much, but with the current poise damage, then yeah. And then like there's
small changes require, like, literally separates this moveset, for example, from being actually decent instead of being just a joke. Yeah. That's
basically what it is.
You love to use bad weapons. Do you think
he gonna tell you about them? Come on, what answer do you expect?
Well,
surprise me, Dust.
No, I won't.
Okay,
I will stay firm and say that they need to buff hammers. But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It's okay to have a few bad weapons here or there. You know what? It's fine. We have one hammer in the game that does a stupid stomp before it hits people with its heavy.
Oh my god, the monk hammer.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think the problem really comes into play when it's not like one weapon here. It's you know, the whole
weapons.
Yeah, it's the weapon class that is the issue. But you know, sometimes we want to play with like a broken straight sword, and it's fun. Sure, go for it. Whatever, it's fine. I think there's a lot of fun things you can do with the weapons currently.
Yeah, I think what is it? Like the thing with the romanticization that it really bugs me, is the type of things where it's sort of like people feel hurt when they lose with the bad weapons unless they feel necessary to say, hey, I'm not bad, I was just using a bad weapon. And you are right that, like, obviously, if you lose to a player who's using a better weapon, you're using a worse weapon, that's not necessarily suggestive that inherently because you lost, it's because the other player was better. But you can't claim it's just because of that, or like that you're actually better for being, so cool, so Chad, that you use the off-meta weapon. Like, that's cool for you. But at the same time, you shouldn't expect other people to go for your weapon when it's completely unpotent and really just doesn't have much to it. You have to put an exceeding amount of effort and get exceedingly lucky to actually pull off something with it. Like, it doesn't matter how much skill you put into something like this. It just does not have the potential for the interactions you're looking for. It doesn't matter how much theory crafting you do with, like, a bunch of spells. They are going to be shitty and be beyond some, like, couple gimmicks or, like, lucky or special conditioning. They're just going to be shit.
Like Varus Bouquet. Look,
listen. It's not bad.
I tried my very best to make that thing work, but honestly, I don't think you could kill a child with that weapon. A child with cancer. You couldn't even kill a child with cancer. You know, it's already half dead, laying there, and you will be belting it with the weapon. And no. Well, I don't care. It's not my video.
You guys are competitors.
Man,
you know?
I was so happy for a moment because like we
sabotaging our content.
We kind of started like roughly with skipping from the topic to the topic. For the last like more than hour, we have like a super smooth segues and everything works in the way that I won't even have to fucking edit shit. I thought so at least, and then I have lost that by going, hey yo, like. You couldn't murder a child, that has cancer with that shit weapon. Like, dude!
We're 4 hours into the recording here. I think you'll be fine.
Fuck, it is 4 hours.
All right.
You have to go at all?
I'm just gonna say my piece about romanticizing bad weapon, and I think we'll be good after then. I think there's some sort of misconception with I think bad weapons. People know the weapons themselves are bad when it comes to like off-meta weapons, and because this game, like, people seek some sort of challenge when they go into Souls games. I think they think that bad weapons means it's more challenging, but they don't really understand what's like a fair challenge and an unfair challenge. Like a fair challenge, it's where it's challenging, but the puzzle at hand is solvable. When it comes to like bad weapons, the puzzle at hand is skewed toward the problem not being solvable. So when you're trying to use a bad weapon successfully, you cannot really use it to its potential because the potential is just not there. So when you actually succeed with it, it's not because you did good, it's because either your opponent did really bad, there was a mistake in there, or someone like got lucky. So I mean, I think that's the main issue with romanticizing bad weapon. Like, that's why I think you always want to go with weapons that can at least have some sort of skill expression, that has something to it. Not all weapons need to be the best, but at least every weapon need to have something for the player to be able to express their skill, at least to an okay level, which is not there at the moment. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say for romanticizing bad weapons.
Do you have like often interactions with people that literally just think that using particular weapon is skillful just because it is weak?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like it is my big problem with like kind of general misunderstanding of what is actually skill expression. Yeah, like the fact that you killed some sort of the level 15 gamer in Limgrave with for an example like the worst flail in the game. It's literally like not a fucking like it's not expression of skill. Like it's I have hey, watch out, Amir, with that scythe, okay? But yeah, it's it's something that kind of annoys me. And to be honest, I think we all doing amazing job at educating people about aspects of the PvP, and I truly believe like the stupid statements of this type are going to be more and more rare. The problem is that we gotta have to wait probably like 5 years before this shit is going to disappear, because currently we are living in the scrubbish world when it comes to overall the community of the Souls games. And like for the very long time there was like no like there was a lot of people that just were like kind of, you know, spreading bullshit about stuff just only for the sake of to justify that they lost in duel, like, you know, some sort of the fucking codes of how you supposed to bow before every fucking duel, how you're supposed to give this guy possibility to you know, to use the buffs, and this guy is supposed to bow 5 times instead of 2 because I don't know, like another reason why it's supposed to be done that way and not in the different in the meaning, like all this fucking bullshit about like honor codes, all this bullshit about like some sort of the hatred towards like one certain particular playstyles that like some people find unenjoyable and so on. It slowly disappears. People like getting like more respectful towards that, like there are different people that playing the game differently, and like, you know, it's basically it's absolutely fine to play up to like how the game actually like gives you the abilities to play it, instead of like making like a bullshit demands all across the board. But yeah, before it's like this cancer of sort that like people demand you to play in one way that they think is okay. This shit is going to stay here probably for a few more years, yeah, before it's gonna be mostly gone.
I agree with you here, because I don't think we should spend any energy hating on anyone except for blues. Those people can eat
actually, good
fucking
point.
cheese grater.
I mean, like they are still delivery of the pots though, so that's nice.
Me.
Okay, continue.
Nothing. No, I was done. I was just.
Okay, that's just it. Just remarkable.
If I can have a last on the whole thing of this, like I feel, yeah, it's the sort of goal-oriented thing where I think people get caught up in the discussions where like someone's like, you know what, this weapon's actually viable, right? Like this, like I got this on someone, and then someone's like, you know, wait, no, like that's just because of like that conditional thing, but fundamentally it loses. It's kind of like not non-potent, and like other things kind of like shut it down, right? It's kind of like a more gimmicky thing, and then people sort of get defensive on that. I think we just need to, you know, educate people and communicate better, and we can say, what is it? Also, things are viable in different ways, right? Like things are more viable in invasions, and things are more viable in duels, and then also in duels, there's things that are viable in the sense that you can get away with them because they have a certain gimmick that will like knowledge check players and whatever, but that's different from it being like fundamentally stronger. So you can get away with something like a curved greatsword in the arena and do wonderfully with it. The same thing with the knight's greatsword. You could win basically every single match if you're good enough, but you're not. If you go into a tournament, it's kind of just no. It's not. It's the moveset's just not strong enough. And just having that distinction and being able to communicate to people without people getting upset and like defensive, as if like you're sort of attacking their person by just telling them the reality of the game. If we can just have a community that's sort of like that without, you know, people taking it personally or people putting others down, because like that's another thing too. It's less like I feel like the anti-tryhard thing is much bigger just because there's more PvEers and more people that are not into the competitive part of the game. But there is also that sort of responsibility there as like PvPers and tryhards that know what we're talking about to make sure that we don't like, you know, just because someone's using a shit weapon, obviously don't put them down. I don't think anybody here does that, but like I have like seen that happen a lot of the time where, you know, someone just completely like dismisses someone as like
you can shorten it with just, yo, hey, reminder, be fucking mindful. Don't be a monkey. Respect others. For like doesn't matter if they are playing in what you consider more sweaty play way or like, you know, or completely the other way around, yeah. we can all coexist and have fun together, yeah, without making fucking brain dead wars. Okay. Listen.
All right.
You guys want to wrap this up?
I think.
Yeah.
I just.
All right, Oro.
just in case, like Amir mentioned the word tryhard here, and this is like the way how like often the, let's call it, more competitive oriented community refers to themselves. Man, I fucking hate it. But I would love to talk with you guys maybe next time about this topic, because I have few things to say about it. But yeah, like we are currently like on 4 hours, and I'm pretty sure like
I'm exhausted.
I'm tired.
Yeah,
I'm
like
hungry.
yeah, we
hear
gonna
voices.
The man eat.
Lost is gonna die.
we're gonna wrap it up. I just the last thing that I want to say, you know, maybe they're like sometimes like you have like bad actors, doesn't matter if that's like a content creators, doesn't matter if that's like a viewers and so on. But I am hella happy about this community that we have here, like within the realm of the Elden Ring or like Souls games overall, that we can just like just gather together, chill, make this type of talk, make content out of it, and just what is the most important, just spend time together and have fun by doing so. And I want to thank every single of you for coming in, and yeah, I really appreciate that, guys.
Bless you. Bless all of you.
Thanks for getting all of us together, Steel. Much appreciated. So for anyone listening, Steel is the one who did the heavy lifting to get all of us together on that podcast. So big shout out to Steel.
For real. Steel's goated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oof.
I'm unironically really glad we have someone like Steel in the community, right? Like, what is this? It's the type of person I think we've been missing in Dark Souls 3. And overall, I'm just really happy
go
with
kiss him already.
Elden Ring it's looking, compared to the DS3 community, like it just feels much more welcoming, and feels like, you know, people are just being...
agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yep.
So much.
Yep. I feel it. Dark Souls 3 was cold, man.
Okay, guys, thank you a lot, and thank you to everyone later on YouTube and also here on Jeenine's channel for watching. It was a great ride. Till the next time, I guess.
Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you next time.
And see you guys.